everyone. This is Heaving Bosoms, the podcast where two best friends recap romance novels while giggling, snorting, going on tangents, and making new friends. This week, we have a super special treat. Vanessa Zoltan from the Hot and Bothered podcast joined Erin and I to talk all about her favorite novel, Jane Eyre. But we're definitely doing it through the 2011 Michael Fassbender vehicle. Yeah, the movie. This is a long one and oodles of fun, so we're going to jump right in. I think we found a soul sister in Vanessa. I mean, I love that right before we hit record, all of us consented to recording tits out,
sure,
too.
Yes.
That's just in case. That's kind of my favorite thing.
Yes. I did not consent to recording that visually, but I'll just do it now. We're all tits out.
Fabulous.
We're all wearing shirts for audio listeners. We're not fully. That would be very crazy.
I know,
Don't
Erin.
lie.
Come on.
I'm sorry. Hey, listen.
We shouldn't be ashamed of the fact that we're topless on air.
Listen, Melody
Honestly.
has been topless on air, and I am
true.
on the record as being like creeped out by it and like not okay.
Yeah. Yeah, she's really not
Oh my
into
God,
it.
Melody. Next time you have to be topless on air, I will co-host.
Thank you, Vanessa.
Well.
That is friendship.
Okay.
That is support.
Yes, I'm
That's
in.
cool. That's
I'm
meeting
in.
someone where they are, is what that is.
Well, it's been fun.
Wow.
I'm gonna take off.
Erin's fucking off. Oh my gosh, we haven't introduced you. Listener, Vanessa Zoltan is here.
Hello, Vanessa.
I'm waving because it's good audio.
Yeah, it's totally good audio.
Thank you so much for coming.
Thank you for having me. I invited myself over. And you all were like, yes, we'll bake. What are your dietary restrictions? And I was like, thanks. I want to talk about this really weird movie. And you're like, we love it.
We do.
So thanks for letting me invite myself over.
It has that, gosh, what's his name? I was going to say McGregor. That's not right. He's
Michael Fassbender?
Fassbender.
Yes.
The one who, like, often is cock out.
He is.
on
Listeners.
movies.
He's cock
Into it.
in this movie. This is
He
a
is
cock-free
so
Fassbender.
deeply cock in.
Yes.
But you do see some upper thigh buttock
Yes.
area at one point.
True.
But that's it. That's the sexiest.
Yeah,
piece.
and I held on to that moment like you
it's a beautiful moment.
I kept on just rolling it back.
I just tried to keep in the back of my mind how big it is, even though I couldn't see it. Like just knowing,
Totally.
knowing what it looks like in the back of my mind really helped me
Yeah.
get through the film.
I mean, I hear that,
Yeah.
you know? Wow. Because you're now covering Jane Eyre on Hot and Bothered, right?
I am, yeah. So we are in season 3 of Hot and Bothered. Season 1, but Hot and Bothered is my podcast.
Yes.
And it's season 1, we wrote our own romance novels. Season 2, we were going to write our own romance novels, but COVID hit. And so we were like, do you know what we need? We need something stupid and
Yes.
sexy. And so we did Twilight.
Yes, you
and
did.
it turns out that it's not
It is not.
sexy. It's just stupid. It's the best thing I've ever made is that season of Hot and Bothered. It was so fun to talk about Twilight for
Yes.
a year. I can't even tell
We
you.
did Midnight
Absolutely.
Sun.
And now we're doing Jane
when
Eyre.
it came out, and Midnight Sun was also extremely fun to talk about, but not fun to read.
I think we talked about it for like 4 straight
Yes.
hours. Like it's 2 episodes. It's an event.
Yes.
It's an event.
It is an event.
It has to be.
Oh my God. Okay, this is not a Midnight Sun podcast, so I'm not,
Right.
not going to talk about it. I love it. I love those films so much. So much. But yes, now we're doing Jane Eyre, which is like what I wrote my thesis on in grad school.
Yeah.
And it's my favorite book and whatever, but it's not as fun as Twilight.
You mean this gothic romance full of child abuse is not more fun than Twilight? What a weird take.
In which but her husband wants to murder her
Hot
for 3
takes
books
from
in
Vanessa
Twilight.
over here.
But I will say that I should be. My producer is like mad at me in my head. I can feel on air. Our 3rd season of Hot and Bothered is very fun.
I'm sure.
It is. Everyone should go listen to it.
No, absolutely. But like the making
Yes.
of is a different experience, most certainly.
It's different,
Yeah.
than talking about Twilight.
Yeah.
yeah.
Well, because you also have a new book out this past summer, right? Praying with
do.
Jane Eyre.
Yes. It is called Praying with Jane Eyre. It is a collection of sermons. I'm technically a chaplain.
Yeah.
That is my career. That is what I am trained to be. I am not trained as a podcaster. There's my dog.
Which
She
is
made her first
hilarious
appearance.
because, listener, she also did Harry Potter and the Sacred Text, which was reading the Harry Potter stories as sacred texts, like as religious, what do you call it? Come on, help me out over here. Sacred
Text is liturgy.
Great, perfect. Oh,
Lectionary.
liturgy.
I
Big
know.
words.
Look at you. And so, yeah, Praying with Jane Eyre is just a collection of sermons using Jane Eyre as the text instead of the Bible. So it's like going up on your typical Sunday morning sermon. And instead of being like, this week's reading is from Acts book 2, I'm like, this week's reading is from Jane Eyre chapter 3. And then it's like essays about like hate and frustration and betrayal, but using Jane Eyre.
I love it. It's so cool.
I love that. I love that. And one of my favorite things about reading the reviews of your book as well is all of the people who are like, this actually changed reading for me. In like a great way, you know? And that's so powerful to me, Vanessa. Oh my gosh.
I mean, you both know, right? Like as romance readers, how reading can change us. And I think that we feel ashamed about that. And so we don't like lean into it. And I think that we should just admit that it does. And we should turn to books when we're in moments of despair.
Yeah.
And and let books love us, right? Like if you think about Jane Eyre, Charlotte Bronte never would have been able to imagine me, right?
Right.
Like a Jewish girl in Boston 200 years in the future who like got to go to graduate school, right? Like it would have blown her mind, but I still feel like she wrote it for me, right? She was like picturing future women who were going to need to be kept company and to talk about, you know, betrayal and heartache and love and sisterhood. And so, I don't know, it's really nice that a woman wrote me a book 200 years ago.
Seriously.
I just love I just love your whole thing. Like, I love taking these secular texts and reading them as holy and transformative, whether it's Harry Potter or it's Jane Eyre, especially that it's Harry Potter or romance, because it's like, these are books that are sometimes just kind of dismissed as silly or fun or, you know, not substantive in the way that it is transformative. And you've just done such, I love Harry Potter and the Sacred Text. I just love what you've done. I just love it so much.
Thank you.
Yeah, completely.
I'm always tempted to be like, millions of people can't be wrong, but that's obviously not true. Millions of people can
They have
be wrong.
been in the past.
They have been. But I do think that millions... I don't know. Millions of people are wrong when they're motivated by hate or fear, but when they're motivated by love, millions of people cannot be wrong. Yeah. And like loving Harry Potter and loving romance, those are about love. That is like not about white supremacy. So
Right.
Well, I mean, I feel like whatever it is, if there's that many people, there's something there that resonates. And, you know, sometimes that's hatred or fear or, you know, the bad things. But like there's something that's hitting, you know, an emotion or something inside that that they hadn't had a way to express themselves in whatever reason.
Yeah.
I just love that you've sort of given voice to the idea that no matter what, something can be not only transformative, like Erin said, but also like foundational, you know? Like the Harry Potter books changed me when I was young.
Of course.
They taught me so many lessons. And like, thankfully, none of that was hatred of trans people, you know? Like that didn't come through for me. And that makes me really happy. But it's true.
J.K. Rowling is a horrible reader of her own books. If she read her books, she would not approve of her own transphobia.
I know.
I
know, right?
It's amazing the things that she says out in the world. I'm like, are you sure? Forget that you wrote these, but have you read them?
Yeah.
Like, have you read about how marginalized Hagrid is and that he lives on the border of society and that that's completely unjust and it was for a crime he didn't even commit?
Yeah.
Like, I don't think that she has read her own books.
Yeah, absolutely.
Sadly.
Yeah.
They're quite good.
Well, okay, so I do have to make a quick confession before we dive into this. And that is that I'm an uncultured swine who has not read Jane Eyre.
Oh, and we know I'm
sorry, everyone.
No.
I'm sorry, everyone. I
haven't read it.
I didn't know if we were going to keep that on the DL, but I feel like our listeners know for sure I haven't read it. And with you, it's like a 50-50.
Here's the thing. I have friends who haven't read Jane Eyre. Our friendship survives these moments.
This is
the other thing I'll say about Jane Eyre specifically. It's not for everyone.
Sure.
Right? It's a weird book. It's not Pride and Prejudice, right? Which is weird and delightful in its own ways. But it's become a rom-com trope. Jane Eyre is fucked up and weird. And so
dark. It's dark in there.
It gets real dark. It's really beautiful. It's super sexy.
Yeah.
Very feminist. So many of the good things. Has some really weird racist imperialism in its past. Is pro-missionary.
Yeah. Oh, God. I did have a couple missionary notes for sure.
Yeah. It is a troubled book with a storied history. And not everyone finds it a page turner. I do.
Although I will say, when we're talking about it being really dark and really, I don't know, kind of depressing in a way.
Gothic.
I was talking to a friend the other day and I was like, I have to watch Jane Eyre on Saturday, blah, blah, blah. And they were like, which one is Jane Eyre? And I was like, I don't know, but I think it's the one where the guy has the wife in the cupboard. And then we were talking about that. And then my friend, I'm so sorry. I'm so sorry. I love you so much. Please like me. But I'm like, I think it's that one. And then we started talking about it. And both of us were like, gosh, wouldn't it be nice if somebody just locked us in a cupboard? And wouldn't that be the best excuse? Oh, I'm sorry, I can't go to that meeting. Cupboard, and somebody would bring you food and for some at this point in my life, it just sounded fantastic. It didn't look great in the movie, but in my mind's eye, where you're just in the cupboard and you're like, oh no, I can't do laundry today. Cupboard, I'm locked in it.
Cupboard time.
That would be nice. Anyway, so if you just change your perspective,
right. Yeah.
Bertha should have just had an open mind and been like, this is basically a fourth season.
Exactly.
She'd have had a great time up there.
She really could have, missed opportunity, Bertha.
If you don't have furniture in your cupboard, you don't have to clean any furniture in your cupboard. You never have to change the sheets if you don't have a bed. Just change your perspective and that changes your whole thing. Anyway.
Oh my gosh. I did. Also, the fact that you said cupboard is it's a Harry Potter Jane Eyre hybrid.
I don't know, it's just the word my friend and I were using, but it is kind of a cubby.
It is.
What did she call it?
It's like an attic, right?
It's an attic,
yeah. The inner room.
They also call it the inner room. Yeah. That is true.
Maybe it's cold, though. Yeah. I do like to be cozy.
I don't
you know
think
what?
It's
every square
up
inch of that house is cold.
Yeah,
does not matter where you are. Every square inch of it is cold.
Mm-hmm.
It's just the fact.
Thornfield.
Yeah.
Well, it's called Thornfield, so it's not a warm and cuddly place.
Right.
Fair enough.
Yeah. Okay.
Should we talk about it?
We got to jump in.
Yeah.
Okay, so I don't remember. I think the last Jane Eyre I watched, didn't read, was the one that starts with her in the school, going to the school. And can I just tell you, I fucking love the epic way this one starts, because it starts with Jane just sobbing and running away.
Yes. It has two timelines.
Yes.
And it happened quickly because she did not pack appropriate gear. There is not a waterproof. No. There is not, she didn't bring a canteen. Just nothing. Just wool.
Zero provisions. Oof.
A lot of
At
soaking
one point,
wet
she
wool.
actually abandons her overnight sack because she's like, I can't carry it anymore. Am waif on
it's
countryside.
wet leather, at that point.
Yeah. Seriously. At one point in this opening scene, she lays down on a rock and really, really gets into the sobbing. And I was just like, yes! When was the last time I got to just put my hair down and fucking yell in the mountains? Mm-hmm. It's been a while. Mm-hmm. Have done it legitimately. Mm-hmm. Have done this Jane Eyre moment. But I live in a city now. So.
Oh my God. You need to go to the woods and lay down and die on a rock.
Again, change your perspective. This is great.
Right. This is great.
She has the opportunity to really get it out. Yeah.
But then she sees a house in the distance.
Yeah.
And is like, I'm going to try to not die on this walk.
Mm-hmm. Right.
On this rock, sorry. I will walk to the house.
Yeah. And at this point, it is super storming. Her cloak and dress and everything have to weigh 60 pounds minimum. And she's trying
more
to get...
than Mia Wachowski does, for sure.
Thank you.
Yes.
And so she she just like falls down on the doorstep and she says, I will die.
I will die, which is like 8 minutes into the movie.
Amazing.
And is the first sentence, I will die. I was like, Jesus.
And you know what? She's not wrong.
No.
You know?
There is, but
I mean,
there is somebody there.
Spoiler.
He's a man. He has like a hipster hat. And he carries her
does,
inside, and his
very
friends are
fashionable.
Georgiana Darcy and like another lady, and they're very
The
like
Borgia sister.
Oh.
She's a Borgia sister.
Well, I didn't know that.
She is a Borgia
She's that
sister.
incest Borgia sister. And she does an incest in this movie too.
I only noticed Georgiana
Listen,
Darcy.
She doesn't.
Come on, Vanessa.
She does not do an incest
Listen, she
by
does
kissing her brother goodnight
on the
on the
lips.
mouth.
I'm out of this.
Okay, that's like, first of all, that is 2 hours from now.
You're right. It's a spoiler.
I have no dog in this fight.
Second of all, culturally appropriate at the time.
It was jarring to me, Melody, though. That's all.
Sure.
You're right. There is 0 incest in this book that we know of.
Okay, but more importantly, St. John, who brings her into the house, is Billy Elliot. And he doesn't even ballet her into the house.
Not even a little bit. For as much as he loved ballet, he does not even do a toe tap in this one.
Leap her into the house.
Not
right?
a plie in sight.
So weird.
No.
And St. John, the man, I will say, I think that this movie is miscast almost head to toe. I will talk about some of the good casting. I love all the actors in it, so I'm like not formally complaining. But St. John is supposed to be hot like a Greek god. And like Billy Elliot is not hot like a Greek god.
I thought he was hot, but not like a Greek god.
He's a very cute British man. He's supposed to literally look like a Greek statue. And he's supposed to be very tall, blonde, blue-eyed.
Interesting.
I'm sorry, Billy Elliot, but no.
Wow.
That really puts a little that puts a little flavor into it if you think about him being like crazy hot. Yeah. Huh.
It makes it complicates it a little bit for me. Definitely.
Yes. Because St. John is the worst. And so movies get to complicate that by making him so hot.
Wow.
And so this is a very strange missed opportunity.
Interesting.
Like, it should have been like, what's the 50 Shades guy's name? Like James
Dornan?
Dornan, yeah.
Dornan?
Yeah.
It should have been that guy.
Something like that.
Yeah.
Like, imagine that guy playing St. John.
Right.
Everyone.
Okay. Or Flipper Man from the Hunger Games.
Flipper
Erin?
Man from the Hunger Games.
He does a trident. He's got a puka shell necklace.
Now that you've done this, I can't remember his name.
Are you talking about the guy? Oh my God, I have to go so many removed. The guy who stars in that movie with the girl from Game of Thrones
it is him.
What I really wanted you to. Yes, Me Without You or something.
I just think that he, Flipper Man.
Stop saying Flipper Man and I'll be able to think of his name. Jesus.
Oh my God.
Okay, wait.
Okay,
Sam
so
Claflin.
Sam Claflin. There it is.
I'm so glad we got
hot
there.
enough to be St. John.
What?
No.
No.
It has to be like the David.
He has to be
David come
buff.
to life.
Buff boy.
Yes. He's supposed to be stunning.
Okay.
Okay.
The hottest girl in town, who's not in the movie, but in the book, the hottest girl in town is in love with him.
Really? And he wants to
Yes.
take Tiny Jane. Listen, that's 2 hours away.
Yes.
Stop
Okay.
it, Melody.
All right.
Yes.
So
Jesus.
we
Stop
get a
it.
flashback. And Jane Eyre is just trying to fucking read a book. She's small child. She just wants to read a fucking book about birds. She just wants to read her bird book. Who like
In
Priest
in the window
by the
seat.
window.
Relatable.
And then her shit cousin comes up and is like, "That's my book." And she's like, "No, it's my uncle's book." And then he takes it and he hits her so hard in the head with this stupid bird book that like none of them really want to read. I don't think it's just about
Nobody
birds.
wants to read it. Yeah.
And she starts bleeding.
bleeds.
He knocks
just
her
two
into
things.
a doorknob.
Doorknob. Yeah.
And
So
she's
two
bleeding.
things about this.
Yeah.
One thing that I have to say is that what he says to her is, "Where are you, rat?" That's not
not
nice.
nice.
That's not nice.
Yeah. No, absolutely.
The second thing I want to say is that the curtains in this room that she's hiding behind are beautiful.
Oh, I didn't
so
even notice.
gorgeous, right?
Yeah, the tapestries in this film,
Yeah.
very evocative,
They really
and
are.
I really enjoyed these.
Yeah, the set
So,
dressing is nice.
I
yes.
love this
I
journey
was
for
like,
you guys.
hate what you're doing, love the way it looks.
So she just jumps on him and just starts kicking the shit out of him because he did give her a TBI. And then that aunt comes in and is like, stop killing your cousin. And then she puts her into a haunted room with a haunted fireplace. And then Jane gets so freaked out.
The TBI.
Yeah. Then she just bangs her head against the door, which is really rough to watch.
And knocks herself out.
Okay, is that how you read that?
Yeah.
Does she faint or does she knock herself
out?
out?
Into that door, for sure.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. She does a running leap headfirst into that door so that she doesn't have to think about the chimney anymore. Like, geez. Insane. So then we cut to a scene with her and the aunt and a fire and brimstone preacher man. And he's like,
Mr. Brocklehurst is his name.
Yes.
So it's really like they're leaning into
There are a few moments
Brocklehurst
in this movie where like Jane makes such a baller comment that like I imagine like the gangster music starting and then the like sunglasses descending from, you know, like the la da da da.
This is one of my
like
top...
the Snoop Dogg coming and the glasses coming down.
Yeah.
This is so great when he's like, how are you gonna, do you want to go to hell, Jane? And she's like, not really. And he's like, how are you gonna avoid it? And she's like, not die, I guess, because I'm a gangster.
Yeah, stay
like,
healthy
it was fantastic.
and not die.
Oh, she was so cool.
I must stay in good health and not die. She fucking looks right at him, too. By the way, at the time, I am just coming in as, like, huge nerd.
Please.
Like, by the way, at the time, there were famously typhus epidemics killing children.
Oh.
So, like, this was a very bold thing for a kid to say. Be like, I guess I just have to not die. Because, like, a third of children
Is that what her
dying from
girlfriend
typhus.
died of?
That is. So her girlfriend dies of tuberculosis while the rest of the school has typhus. And that character, Helen Burns, who we're about to meet, getting whipped on her neck by Miss Scatcherd, is based on Charlotte Bronte's sister, Mariah. Who she was.
So did she die of tuberculosis too?
She did.
Oh, that's a sad.
Oh my God, the Brontes all died of tuberculosis except for Charlotte and her father. They all died of it.
Oh my god.
Her dad outlived all 5 of his children.
That's so sad.
It's very sad.
Oh.
It's very sad. This is a comedy podcast, right?
We have levels.
We do.
You know?
Yes.
We go on journeys.
Yes.
You're like an artichoke.
I have to bring it back, though, to the end of this interaction before we start whipping Helen, where the aunt is ready for this meeting to be done with Mr. Flurflurp. And then sometimes I don't know the names and I make up words. So then she just rings a little bell on her table that means like somebody when they want the meeting to be done, they just ring a little. Can you imagine if you just had a tiny bell that you could ring when you wanted any social interaction to be over?
I would abuse that power.
I would get drunk on that shit.
Oh yeah.
That'd be a sweet high.
No one seemed to think it was like rude either. It was just like, oh, the bell is ringing.
No.
And then they left.
Yes, we must come fetch Jane.
So good.
But wait, and what does Jane do? Are you going to tell us what Jane does?
She doesn't leave.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Fuck you,
She
aunt.
doesn't leave.
Yeah.
And yells, she's like, if anyone asks me, I am going to tell them that you are bad.
You're a meanie head.
And yes.
And you
It's
hate me for no
fantastic.
reason. And she says, not only is my uncle in heaven, but so are my mom and my dad, and they can see everything you do to me and the amount you hate me for no reason.
And they're telling God.
And then she just like mic drops and fucks off. So she does go to that abuse school. And it's just a montage of abuse.
Yeah, they strip her like it's
Really
prison. They whip that girl.
Helen.
Let's see.
Can we just say that the mean aunt is played brilliantly by Sally Hawkins?
She is, yeah. She's really good.
Sally Hawkins, like she of Happy Go Lucky, so capable of being so vivacious and love-filled and so capable of being a heinous
She
bitch
was
in
like,
I hated
this
her.
film.
There's nothing to like there. Nothing.
I hated her bones. Ooh.
Yeah.
Oh, we forgot a flash forward, though. She tells St. John that her name is Jane Elliott and that there's no one he should contact for her because she must never be found. Then we go to the school.
Yes.
They make her stand on that pedestal all day long and she can't, or on a chair or whatever. She can't eat or anything. The thing.
In another version, they had him walking around in the rain in circles for no reason. Just the rain all day, walking around in circles. I think that was a real thing.
They told those kids.
Yeah.
They were like, no one be her friend, which is like.
Yeah.
Truly the worst thing. Mandatory isolation.
They also call it, but I do love what he calls it. He goes, have her stand on the pedestal of infamy.
It's insane.
It's so good. And he says you cannot eat or drink because you need to know how barren it is as in the life of a sinner or something like that. Incredible.
Yeah. But Helen sneaks her a little piece of bread.
Yeah. Very sweet. So now she's got a little girlfriend.
And Helen is like the sweetest, peachiest little angel. And one of my favorite things was she was like, why do you let that bitch hit you all the time and you don't say anything? And she's like, well, she just wants me to be better and it's my fault. Yeah. And she's real brainwashed, that one. And then she says, my dad always told me life is too short to like hang on to grudges, basically. Mm-hmm. And I feel like this is the moment that like actually changes Jane, you know? Like in this movie, that's how it read to me.
Sure. I just don't think it changes her entirely.
No.
Because Jane is going to yell at people a lot in this movie. So Joyce Carol Oates' theory of this book is that the first line of chapter 2 is I resisted all the way. And that's about her being dragged to the abuse room with the scary fireplace. Yeah. And that a way to track this novel is just through Jane's resistance.
Ooh.
And which I find very compelling. And I think that Jane in part resists some of what Helen says. She's like, no, we don't fucking deserve to be abused, right? She loves Helen. I totally agree. And she's like, yeah, I don't want to spend my whole life mad. But she's also like, no, I'm not going to like get hit and be like, she means well.
Oh, no. I didn't mean change her in that way. I just meant that like later on, she does so much just pay it forward forgiving to like heinous assholes. And I feel like in that moment, she learned that in addition to resisting, in addition to standing up for herself, in addition to all of that, she helps herself by letting go of those wrongs. And Helen taught her that, and that's just beautiful to me.
Helen is also the first person who's ever kind to her.
Yeah.
And so I think she's just like, what? You're giving me bread? Right? Like, I think she's just completely overwhelmed by the fact that anyone is showing kindness to her.
Yeah. And then the next scene is Jane coming to check on a very sick Helen, and Helen says, your little feet are bare and you're freezing, so please get into bed with me and warm up. And I'm like, Helen, you're on death's door and you're still thinking about her.
And it's also because Helen is so a-fevered.
Yeah, like she is breathing tuberculosis out of everywhere.
And they put their faces so close.
They do, and I was really glad that Jane survived that, you know.
Yeah, totally.
Jane says, how are you? And she says, I'm happy because I'm going to God. You have such a passion for living, so don't be sad about this, but please don't leave me. And Jane says, no one could rip me away from you. Oh my gosh. And then by the morning, Helen's dead. They did snuggle
Jane away.
Oh, it's so sad. But then she is doing a draw.
Yes.
Of St. John. So why don't we talk about that?
It's now back to timeline 1, running away Jane timeline. 18-year-old, not 8-year-old Jane. And she has drawn, she's drawing. And the sisters are like, oh, you're such a good drawer. And she's drawn St. John, Billy Elliot. And they're like, look how talented Jane Elliot is. And Billy Elliot looks at it and goes, oh, how fierce I am.
How fierce I am. He gets a boner right here.
I think he gets turned on by the image of himself.
He definitely does.
By how she sees
like,
him.
Oh, I'm hot.
Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. By I think, like, sort of by the power that is the fear he can strike into other people is sort of how I read it.
And then I have, St. John sets her up with a teaching gig for £15 a year, and she's pretty psyched because this man is doing the very least for her. Is that fair?
That's a good read, I'd say.
Thank you.
Okay, let me just say, I can fuck both of you for putting me in a position to defend St. John Rivers. I hate this man so much.
We are the purple devil horn emoji right now.
Yes. But he does find out about her strengths. He finds out that she has taught at Lowood after she finishes being abused by that school. She becomes a nice teacher at that school, and he's like, oh, you can draw and stuff. And he is setting up a school for girls in a poor area in rural England, which in the 1830s, when this takes place, is not done, whatever. He's still a dick. Also, I looked it up. £15 a year is the equivalent now of $1,800 a year. That is, like, room and board is covered, but still. And I'm guessing there was, like, literally no health care.
Mm-hmm.
Anyway, I don't understand this. She's also given a servant, though.
Wow.
Like, she's given those little girls to help her clean.
Oh, yeah.
But yeah, I'm sorry. You know what? You're right. St. John is great and pretty much a romance story. No, Vanessa, you're right. No,
Vanessa, you don't have to convince us anymore.
You're the worst.
He's the true hero of the book.
Quit.
Yeah, we'll put that on like some kind of quote. We'll do it on our media. We'll do merch of it.
Yeah.
Do a cross stitch of a pillow. Vanessa loves St. John Rivers.
Vanessa and St. John's.
HBs, it's time to talk about Book 3 in Maggie Preston's Hearts of Louisiana series. It's called Love and Misfortune, and it's... HBs, I have to scream for a minute about a wonderful company for all of your romance and BTS merch. I know a ton of you love both. It's called Literary Souvenirs. Prashita and Devisha are two sisters and fangirls who create beautiful designs for apparel, enamel pins, acrylic keychains, handmade resin bookmarks, coasters, jewelry, and so much more. Seriously, they do it all. They just released brand new designs for HB favorites like Neon Gods and The Love Hypothesis. Plus, they have a History Huh shirt from Red, White, and Royal Blue that I currently have in my cart, and a stunning From Blood and Ash enamel pin. I'm going to link their Etsy and social media pages for individual orders, but I also need to rave about my experience with their custom design and bulk ordering. Jenny and I decided to have enamel pins made for the first 100 supporters of Bonkers Romance, and Prashita and Devisha went above and beyond. Not only did they do a beautiful custom design of our I Went Bonkers First pins, but working with them was a dream. They were so responsive and accommodating, and they did an amazing job keeping us updated during the production process. I cannot recommend them enough for any of your custom needs. And also, you can get any of the current merchandise in bulk. Just let them know what you want. So, go support this small, woman-owned family business by following Literary Souvenirs on social media and checking out the goods on Etsy. You won't regret it. A link to our show notes so you know where to go.
She now is going to Thornback, right? So she's like in a carriage.
So hold on.
Oh, no.
There are still two timelines. So, right. So there's
yes.
19-year-old Jane and there's 18-year-old Jane. And
Yes.
18-year-old Jane is like the grown-up version of the 8-year-old. And she has taught at, she's graduated from the abusive school. She's taught at the abusive school. And now she's going to be a governess at, we can call it Thornback.
You
don't have to call it Thornback.
Let's call it Thornback.
I'm so sorry.
The only evidence, Melody, of that in the movie is that the little girls are like, "Thank you, Miss Eyre. Thank you, Miss Eyre," and they would only call her Miss Eyre if she was a teacher.
Okay. Well, yeah, and then she does make eye contact with one of her chief abusers, and then she just says goodbye, which I feel like is very. That's like a right. That's a England times rude. That's like a you mean nothing to me, right?
And I looked up the actress who played Miss Scatcherd, and she only plays mean people.
Interesting.
And I feel like someone give this lady a job where she can be nice. I bet she's a talented actress who can play nice.
Maybe she picks the jobs.
Right?
Maybe she likes getting her mean out.
Maybe.
True. Maybe she's such an angel everywhere else.
But then the best casting decision reveals
Judi
itself.
Dench?
Because Jane...
It's Judi Dench!
I was like,
Judi Dench is Judy!
I couldn't believe that Judi Dench hadn't been in this movie yet. And then I was like, oh, finally, Judi Dench is here. I felt
My
off
actual
kilter
note
and strange.
is Judi Dench is here, exclamation point.
I also wrote, Judi Dench is finally here, exclamation point.
I wrote, then Judi Dench arrived, exclamation point.
Okay.
Yeah, so she's going to be a governess for a ward of a Mr. Rochester. And Vanessa, is
Yes.
this his child? Or was he just the benefactor of a lady who had a kid already and then she died and he felt like he got stuck with her? What's the situation?
Like, do you want to, like, time me? So I, like, 10 seconds
Please.
I can try to do this?
Do you want me to play, like,
Okay.
do you want me to play, like, twinkly music in the background?
I don't know. I just could talk about this forever.
We wanna
So I
know.
feel
We
like
wanna
we
know.
should,
I'm
hit a gong
I'm
at some
actually
point.
asking.
We're asking.
Okay. So Rochester spent several years traveling around Europe and having mistresses.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
he had a
yeah.
Double
mistress,
hot.
Celine Varin. And Celine cheated on him. And so he shot the man who he cheated with in the shoulder and in like a duel and cast Celine out. And then years later, he gets a letter from Celine that he has a daughter, Adele, and she doesn't want anything to do with Adele. The movie kills off Celine, says that Adele's mom is dead. That is not what's happening in the book. She's like living in the slums. And the book wants you to believe pretty hard that Adele is not his, that she looks nothing like Mr. Rochester, and that he just sort of felt bad for her and got this letter from Celine that Adele was living in the slums and that Celine was abandoning her child. And that Mr. Rochester like crossed the channel and went and got her, and they stayed in a hotel and got her a governess and is like this good guy.
So you're telling
And
me
it's
that
supposed to show you he's a good guy.
he's a grumpy man who will go to the ends of the earth for a child he does not like, god damn it, and then
And
raises
he's
that
rude
child.
to her.
Point of information. He's not above
love it.
calling her stupid to her face, though. Like he's
To
not
her
above
face.
being like, "Fuck
No,
this kid."
she has no
He-
talent.
she
Total
sucks.
dick to her.
Yeah. So like, let's not give him any awards, okay? Like,
No,
I'm certainly not.
But in theory, what we are supposed to believe is that he is raising the child of his ex-lover in the man who she cheated on him with.
Shoot. I like it.
But, you know, it's probably his kid also. They have nothing in common. The book wants you to know they don't look anything alike. Whatever.
okay, all right.
Bronte.
Wow.
Oh, all right.
All right, so this kid speaks French and no one else does except for Rochester. So she's been just like completely living a like completely silent life. And then
Yeah.
No, she has her private maid Sophie with her.
but I think she
Sophie
also doesn't speak
literally
English.
She doesn't speak English. So Sophie has like no lines in the movie. She's just hot in the background.
okay, I
the
didn't
whole
realize that
movie.
Sophie was
very
her maid from France or a French lady.
Yes.
So, okay, so then like Jane shows up, Jane speaks French and is going to be her governess. And then like immediately this bitch is like, "Can I do my singing and dancing for you?"
Can I do a singing
I've been
dance?
holding it back this whole time. And then she does the equivalent of what you and your girlfriends did when you did like a Spice Girls performance for your
That's right.
parents when you were in 6th grade.
Correct.
And it is bad.
It
And
is
Judi
a
Dench
treasure
is about as
of a
impressed
sort.
as I am. She does some great acting here.
Judy Dench is scandalized.
Yes.
And her response is, how French.
How very
How
French.
It is throwing major shade on the
Yes.
French.
Oh,
that
yeah.
They're like all slutty.
Adele tells
So now, oh yeah, go ahead.
Adele tells Jane about a scary story about a lady that has dark hair and blue eyes and comes to suck your blood in the night. And Jane's just like, haha, what a funny story. It probably has nothing to do with the strange noises I hear from the attic all the time.
Correct. Yeah.
Let's see.
And then my favorite.
I think the movie handles this moment well because Jane is telling Adele a story about a scary creature called the guy trash. And she's like, "Oh, it's scary. It'll attack you on the roads with a traveler." And then Adele gets scared and Jane's like, "It's just a story."
Right.
And then Adele tells Jane the scary story of a woman with dark hair who roams the house and is like, haha, it's just a story. But then, right? So there's this, like, you're sort of led to believe, like, these are just scary stories in this old haunted
Right.
house. I like the way the movie does
I
it.
really liked it too. Yeah. The next scene is one of my favorites, honestly, because Jane is forlornly looking off into the horizon. And Judi Dench.
it's a big Moana
Oh,
moment.
it's a Moana. She talks about that horizon and it's as far as she can go. Why can't, and then she has a Sense and Sensibility moment, that little sister, where she's like, why can't ladies have adventures? Men can have adventures. And she's like, I love that she tells Judi Dench, like, she's never seen a city. She's never talked to men.
To a man.
Oh,
I've never spoken with men. And I think I might die without ever talking to a dude.
And this is my favorite. It's the most English thing I've ever seen in my life. Judi Dench says, a nice robust walk and some exercise, some fresh air. That's what you've got to do. So I don't know. This letter
feminism.
Yeah, because it's because she wants her to take out the fucking mail is the reason why. It's so good. It's such an agenda. It's like, I came in here with this letter. Now it's awkward. What do I do? Perfect. It was a boss moment from Dench, and I loved it.
It made me so happy. Oh my God.
But then we have the big meet cute.
We do.
Is that what we call this?
Yes,
it's
we
the
do.
Cutest meet.
Yep.
Erin.
It really is.
Take it, Vanessa.
Please, tell us everything.
So Jane is
you don't want me to tell it.
Jane is on the walk that will end patriarchy.
Right.
And she is walking through the woods and on Hill Lane. And she turns around and a horse is there. And there's a man on the horse and there's a dog. And the man falls off the horse. The horse falls, which I always hate seeing that in movies. The man who the horse fell on is Michael Fassbender.
Yeah, it is.
To be clear, one of the hottest men alive.
Thank you.
Yes.
And to be clear, Mr. Rochester is supposed to be ugly, but that's fine. So it's played by Michael Fassbender, but like picture Adam Driver if you want a more accurate.
Oh.
Listen, hey,
Hot
this
ugly.
is the ugliest Michael Fassbender has been.
That's true.
They uglied him up.
They did.
Pretty good,
They tried.
I think.
They tried.
By giving him mutton chops?
Yeah,
Yeah.
I think the hairstyle, I think that
They
how
fucked up his
frowny he made
complexion
himself.
a tiny bit. I feel like, Anyway, he's like, hey girl, will you bring me that horse? And she's like, I have never seen a horse flesh. I cannot. But she does all of that with her eyeballs. And it's like a hate eyeball at him.
Yeah.
And what, Erin?
You guys are, listen, okay, first of all, they're the only two people for so far, okay?
Yeah.
He's riding on a horse. Her back is turned. He rode that horse directly fucking at her.
No, it's foggy. It's super foggy.
It was not that foggy.
Apparently
It's
it was foggy
super
enough.
foggy.
And then this horse that's like apparently very unpredictable, he's like, go get me that horse. And then she shows the slightest hesitation and he's like, fuck you. Like, I swear, this is not a meet cute.
But
this was a horror show.
what he says is, and we find out later that like at first sight, he was like bewitched by her or something like that.
Now we know that,
But I'm reading back into it, okay? So what happens is he's like, oh yeah, you don't want to get that horse? That's fine. Why don't you come over here and get me, girl?
Love that.
And then she does a snuggle on him all the way to the horse. It's nice. Okay.
What I love about it is how awkward they both play it. He's like, I'm going to have to make use of you and like essentially use her as a crutch. And she looks like, holy shit, this man weighs so much. And he looks like, God damn it, she's tiny. Like neither of them look happy with this. But just like a minute ago, she was like, I've never talked with men. And now she's all snuggled up in Michael Fassbender's armpit.
She is inhaling
What a
his
change.
pheromones as we speak.
Yes.
Like,
Yes.
seriously. So then
It turns out that that man is Mr. Rochester. She doesn't know that the man who fell off of his horse is her boss. But she goes home from mailing the letter, and Mr. Rochester's in the house, and she's like, oh my God, it's him. And
yeah.
And I
Judi
didn't
Dench is
name
like,
him.
he sprained his ankle, he's pissed, he fell off his horse,
Yeah.
some bitch helped him and we didn't
I
like, and
named
she's like,
my
oh, it's me. So then they have this fireside
Oh, boy.
scene where he's like, come sit by me and let me talk to you. He starts off by being like, hey, I did talk French to this dummy, talentless idiot here, and I see that you've done your best to help this dumb idiot child.
She's improved nominally over the past
even though she has no
she's
talent.
not bright and has no talents, is the exact quote.
And then he asks Jane what her tale of woe is,
Yes.
because all governesses have one.
He's surrounded by women. like like JUDY Dench is there, Sophie the maid is there, Adele, Jane, Leah the housekeeper. It is just like 6 women standing around waiting to please him.
Yeah.
And he's like, I won't be pleased. I'm grumpy.
Well, he says something like, I can't talk to any of these bitches.
Yeah.
Are you going to be like somebody who I can talk to?
I
or
don't
like what?
simple
I know.
old ladies. I don't like children. Meanwhile, JUDY Dench is right there, and she, like, you can see her hear him. And then he's
And
like,
it's so mean.
so maybe you can be a person that I can tolerate. But here is what happens, and this is when he falls in love with Jane. I'm certain of it. He's like, you bewitched my horse out there, okay? And she's like, I did no such thing. And then he says, yeah, were you out there looking for your people? And she's like, I have no people. I'm big orphan. And he says, no, I'm talking about the elves and the green folk and like the blah, blah, blah. And she says, the sad truth is they're all gone. Your land is neither wild nor savage enough for them. Oh, Jane!
And he's like, she can improv.
Oh, yeah.
She went to Second City. She can and
right.
shit out of me.
Yeah, she just yes-anded her way into my pants, is what he says.
Yeah. Totally.
Then he says her art is weird.
Yep.
He looks through her art and he's like, your art's weird.
Yep. It's great stuff.
Also, I do love that she says she has no tale of woe, comma, just dead parents and an aunt who cast me out. Like,
and got
abuse school.
beat regularly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But I do love the
love
line.
that.
Why? Maybe you both can help me learn about me right now. Because why do I find this line so hot? So he's like, where do you get your pictures from that you paint from? And she says, my head. And he goes, that head I see now on your shoulders. Why do I find his incredulity
No, it's good.
at her talent hot?
It's good. I don't know.
right?
No, but he said it, and I was like, Michael Fassbender, how could you? Oh.
It
I think
shows
that's the
that he's.
answer.
Here's the
Michael
thing.
Fassbender.
Here's the thing. It's England times, right?
Right.
Yeah.
And
He
he's
is
telling
noticing
her
her anatomy in front
that
of her.
he looks at her shoulders.
Yeah.
He's
Yes.
telling her he sees her body. He's looking at her shoulders. He's
true.
looking at her neck. I'm serious. And she's
Yeah.
sitting
I was
there.
like,
She's like collarbones out, like, and her chest is heaving a little bit, and he's looking at it.
He tells her that
Here's
she
the
blushes.
subtext of that scene. Oh, yeah. That I actually have a question about that.
Yeah.
Why has, remember in the 80s when people vomited in movies, they would do it off screen?
Yeah.
And then in the 90s, we all got very realistic vomit, and now, like, everyone's vomiting.
Yeah, and like
so
now it's like
realistically.
projectile.
It's so realistic.
Yeah.
Why are we all just supposed to suspend our disbelief when it comes to blushing?
Right?
In movies. He's like, you're blushing. And I'm like, I can see her face. She's not blushing.
Nothing has
I'm like,
changed.
why real vomit? Why not, like, put some rouge on the girl between takes?
This is what we were saying. Listen, I know that you're not around for our Patreon episodes, but we just watched, we're going through Crash Landing on You, which is a K-drama that's
fun.
on
I know.
Netflix.
Oh, yeah.
But every time somebody gets drunk or embarrassed in Crash Landing on You, they do such a great job with the makeup and reddening people's faces. And I don't know why.
This is what
Why
I
don't
want.
we do
if
that?
it's just that production or it's K-dramas, in their entirety, because I haven't ever seen another one. But like, we need to start doing that more because it's really effective.
Truly.
I love that this is a passion, idea. I really
We've
found
had
my
this
people.
conversation.
Yeah. We've had this actual conversation.
This makes me so happy. But I will say a line that is in the book that is not in the movie, and it's a big mistake, is he looks at her and goes, I don't know. What do you think? Ooh. And I feel like that's all any woman in the world wants to hear.
Absolutely.
Yeah. So next morning, gunshots.
Yeah, we've got domestic
He's just
scenes
shooting
of, like,
guns randomly.
badminton and stuff. Yeah.
Badminton with a shuttlecock that has actual feathers on it? Cool.
Yeah.
But no net. But whatever.
Erin is like, if it's not a competition, I don't want to watch it.
I mean, that's her whole that's her whole thing.
That's incredibly insightful for only knowing me. Wow. Okay.
You really hit her where she lives on that one.
I didn't mean to call you out. I'm sorry.
Don't be sorry. You just read
point?
me like a book. It was a lot. I think actually this next conversation is when he says the thing about how he doesn't like kids or old ladies.
Oh yeah. Sorry.
But because
I
this
wrote
is the one
so
where he
rude
asks
to JUDY Dench.
if she finds him handsome.
Oh,
and she's
my.
like, nah.
Yeah.
And he's like, what's wrong with me? I don't get, am I not handsome?
Wait, but let's talk about male entitlement here, because he is supposed to be actually ugly. And then he says, what fault could you possibly find with me? I have all my limbs and all my features still.
You don't think he's being kind of cheeky?
He is
You don't
being
think he's being
cheeky.
kind of sarcastic?
No, he is. I know that. But
Okay.
it's so funny to me that, like, that's actually true. You know what I mean?
Yes.
Especially in
I
that
met
time
this guy.
period.
He has all his limbs.
Oh, my God.
Also, well, it's also interesting because the book ends and he does not have all his limbs. So this is also,
Really?
yes.
Oh, when the book
So-
ends. Yeah. Okay.
When the book ends.
Right.
Can I just say that this is the point in my viewing where I Googled Dame JUDY Dench?
Yes.
And her daughter's name is Finty.
Finty?
Finty?
She goes by Finty, Finty. I don't think it's her real name.
Wow.
You know how British people do that?
Like
They're like,
Muffy?
yes, this is my uncle, Tubbs.
Right.
And you're like, what? So Dame JUDY Dench's
It's like
daughter is
England
called
and
Finty.
Mississippi, like have more in common than you'd think. That's really funny.
It's so good.
So
So
But
then,
this is the one where he says her gaze is very direct and he
Yes.
wants to draw her out.
oh boy.
And treat her like an equal because he's impressed how directly she speaks.
And Jane has this great feminist moment. He's like, you're weird for a governess. And she's like, no, I'm not. Every woman is like me.
yeah, you
Yes.
haven't
Right?
spent
She's like
enough time with us.
solidarity. Yeah.
Yes.
He's like, you're special. And she's like, I'm
like-
not special. We're
right.
all awesome.
I am like other
I
girls.
am that kind of girl. Yeah.
Yes.
It's so good.
But then he says something that's pretty rough.
Nah.
Where he says, I envy you because like fate dealt me a blow 15 years ago and like my life sucks. And like, what does he think her deal is?
Sir.
Because like he knows her whole deal. Like,
Sir.
come on, man.
Yeah.
Straight white man problem.
Yeah, he's
Yes.
like, you're so fresh and nubile. Almost verbatim. You can't, I will
Yes.
fight you on this. He basically says that.
And he says, and your breasts are so pert. He basically says that.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, I know.
But then he talks about seeking pleasure.
Uh-huh. He's like, I could never have happiness because I did get dealt this big blow 15 years ago.
Fate dealt
Felt
me a
it.
blow.
Yeah. Fate dealt it to me. And so instead, I just seek pleasure. And she's like, she says like, she pushes back on that a little bit. And he's like, but Jane, what if it's like the freshest, most innocent, cherry poppinest pleasure you've ever known?
Yeah, because she takes it as kind of like
Mr.
dark.
Rochester.
Well, but she says, I have no wish to talk nonsense.
Yeah.
And like pieces out. She's
Yeah.
like, this you make no sense, sir. Bye.
Right. She's like, I don't
'cause
think I have
everything
the
she knows about
vocabulary for
sex-
this.
No.
Yeah. Her
She's like,
whole
"What's my
knowledge of sex
cherry?"
is that painting in the hallway.
Oh my
that
God.
she keeps like going up
walking
to.
That
by.
sexy painting that she keeps tweaking. She keeps tweaking those painting
candle.
nipples. Oh, it's
Also,
good.
why does the woman in the paintings not have pubic hair?
Right?
This really bothers me.
I know. Same.
That's an incredible,
No, same.
Before anyone thinks that I'm the weird one, the film shows you this painting very up close 3 times.
It gets personal in there.
No
Yeah.
one listening to this is going to think you're the weird
Yeah, you're
one.
right.
They know who we are. But here's the thing: we're gonna get an email telling us exactly why there's no pubic hair,
And I
we'll
love
let you
that.
know.
Please email
Please
us.
forward that email to me.
I will.
I want to know.
We will.
Yeah.
Okay. All right. So he
This is a
tells
big
us she's a
scene.
curious bird that if let go will soar free. Blah 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 blah. She checks out that porn
I
painting.
mean, blah, blah, blah. She splooshes so hard when he
Yeah, she
says
slides
that if-
right off that chair.
If you were free, you would fly cloud high, he says. Oh, boy, Mr.
But
Rochester.
comma, but you work for me,
But I
and
am
so
caging
instead,
you,
so instead you are
actively.
in the confines
Right.
of this house.
Right.
And she's like, I would know more about bird flight patterns if John Reed in the first scene hadn't taken my bird book and smashed my head.
I would know so much about the kingfisher.
I would know what that is, but I
yeah.
don't.
It's true.
What are birds?
It would have been really great if she said, "What are birds?" I wasn't able to read the book.
Oh boy. It's July, folks. That means new Bonkers Book Club selections. And let me tell you, our cup runneth over. First, there's a historical smorgasbord. You get the entire box set of Nicola Davidson's Surrey SFS series. If you're not familiar, that stands for Sexual Freedom Society. This box set includes 5 ridiculously spicy historicals, with a variety of gender pairings and trios, and so much more that makes my heart sing. Then, Jenny and Katie are offering up one of their all-time favorites, Brutal Prince by Sophie Lark. That's the mafia book where the heroine accidentally sets the hero's house on fire and then makes sure her mouth is full of strawberries because she knows he's extremely allergic. Best wedding kiss ever, right? And then we decided to do a little bonus. We wanted to see if audiobooks are something you'd like as part of book club. And Kay Lorraine and Meg Ann have a series called The Mate Games. You get to listen to Book 1, Obsession. It's a paranormal reverse harem that's done with duet narration. And the cast of narrators is insanely good. So, Joybringers have tons to look forward to. If you want to join, check out our website. The link is in the show notes.
In asleep.
Well, I think he's 3 smoke inhalation.
Yeah, I think it's mostly smoke inhalation.
You know what?
But sure.
You too? Jesus.
Sorry, I'm sorry.
You gotta come
It's
in with
just,
your
it's
accuracy.
it's a smoky scotch.
It's a mezcal or
Yeah,
something like
exactly.
that.
Yeah. So she wakes him up.
So she
Yeah.
wakes him up. She didn't. At that abuse school, there were no fire safety classes
No.
because she just keeps throwing cups of water on this
Do you think that one of the
horrifying
things that she
inferno.
throws
Is his piss.
It's his
yes,
bedpan.
that's my
yeah.
question. Okay, great.
Yeah.
Because it's like a big thing of water, and then it's another big bucket,
Yeah.
and I'm like, that's pee.
That's definitely
Yeah,
all she's eating.
we hope it's just pee. Let's just. Just think of. I'm sorry that you're
I've
here
gone
for
there.
this.
But
Because
No,
it
we
would
all
get
were
so
there.
stinky,
Oh my God.
and then their like romance moment after this would be so stinky.
yeah.
Well, and
But
like
anyway.
the smell of the fire. Anyway,
that's what I mean.
yeah.
It's
But
burnt at that point.
But he went to fire school because he's like, let's snuff out
Yeah,
the flame.
he stomps it out with a curtain or a rug or something
Yeah.
like that.
I think with the hanging from the bed.
Oh,
yes.
And then
Because it's a fancy bed with curtains.
Right. And then she does see roughly 1/8 of his booty.
Which
Which
so do we.
we do too.
He's wearing a nightgown, and it has a very high slit.
Oh, yeah.
And you see a little pinchable area.
Oh, boy.
A little.
I
If you had
loved it.
crab claws, you could get right in there.
Loved it.
Yep. And then they do share a heated gaze in their night things.
Well, first he says, "Stay here. Don't fucking move, and I will be back." No, like explanation, nothing. So by the time he gets back, she's like
He
asleep
puts
and
his
shivering.
jacket on her.
Sure. She's shivering in his coat, asleep. And then he comes in and he's like, "Do not speak of this to anyone." Like that's what that's it. And then she's like,
And then he takes her hand
yeah.
and says, I have a pleasure in owing you my life.
Uh-huh.
that's the next morning, isn't it?
No, that's
No.
them.
Oh, it's when she walks out.
Because
Oh, 'cause
she's
he
like,
says-
"Okay, sir, you are actively yelling at me, so I'm gonna
Yes.
leave. It seems like you need some alone time." And then he stops her and he's like, "Oh, are you leaving me, Jane? You're leaving me like this?"
No, do not walk past me as if we are
That's what I was
strangers.
just about
Dying
to
by
say.
fire is a horrible death.
Yeah.
And you have saved my life.
I have a
the
pleasure,
pleasure.
in owing you my life. And listener, while this is happening, Michael Fassbender is very subtly just like bringing her closer, bringing their faces closer to one another.
Their faces are so close.
And they're
And
tilting,
he wants
tilting.
her to close that gap
my God.
so much,
He's-
but she doesn't
No.
because, again, her knowledge of smooching and sex does come from that weird painting.
true.
I don't know that she even knows about kissing.
I know, right?
And then she says, I am cold.
Yeah.
And so he's like, okay,
All right.
you can go.
Get out of here. And when
Also,
she
doesn't
gets,
he look like he's wearing eyeliner?
yes,
He just looks so good.
he's so hot. Oh my
Every
gosh.
boy looks better with eyeliner.
It's
I know
true.
it's a hot
Yes.
take, but it's my take.
No, it's true.
And it's true.
But when she
Ugh,
gets
he looks
back
so good.
to her room, it looks like she is contemplating masturbating for the first time in her life. It's great.
Yes. So I agree with you that he fell in love with her with the green imp.
Yeah.
You know, they're all gone. She is now in love with him.
Yes.
Right? This, like, I have a pleasure in owing you my life almost kiss. She's like, that's it, I'm in.
Which is kind of nuts because, like, there's a lot of questions, like how start fire, why fire, where Rochester
Why Jane
go,
can't
like
talk about.
yeah, what
Why
so
sworn
like
to silence?
she's in love, but I feel like there's an asterisk that's like questions need to be answered.
Sure, but haven't you seen Speed?
Oh, yes.
We all know that traumatic events bond people
That's
together.
true.
I learned that from Keanu Reeves telling Sandra Bullock that at the end
Bullock
of
in
Speed.
Speed.
That is an educational
So-
film.
It is.
The documentary.
A documentary.
Speed
Right.
taught me that.
Oh, my God. Yeah.
Okay.
I really
okay.
found some soulmates here. Agreed.
I really thought you were going to think I'm a big dummy. I'm very excited.
has really bonded us.
It's true. It's true. Brought down all the barriers.
Okay. So the next morning, Dench is like, listen, he's leaving again. He leaves for a year all the time and he never comes back. And Jane's like, what? This sucks. But then he comes back like real fast, like weeks later. And then he invites her to a fancy dinner. Where people are like, man, governesses, am I right? They fucking suck and
one
they're
thing that
uggos.
So
Sorry.
Dame Judi Dench is like, he left. He's going to Blanche
Yes.
Ingram's house. By the way, Blanche Ingram is hot. And they
Oh, right.
once sang a duet together.
Oh, shit.
Which I think is just like public orgy.
Agreed.
And then she says, and they made a lovely harmony.
Judi Dench, don't talk dirty like that.
I know.
That's like Beast
And so-
with
but
two
then-
backs territory over there.
Totally.
Jeez.
But then, Erin, you're right. Then I just wanted to add that because
No, I
Blanche
missed
Ingram
that.
is one of the hot ladies that comes to the
Yeah,
party.
and so she's like, oh, noes. The boy I have a crush on did bring another girl to my house.
Yeah.
And that's
And
super rude.
she's making fun of me in front of me.
Yeah, and he's not saying a
everybody
word.
else like
So
looks real nice
mad.
and like fancy dresses and stuff. She didn't have a fancy dress. She's just wearing her like regular everyday dress, and everybody's talking, and she doesn't know how to like rise to their conversation. And then they start just shitting on her. So then she leaves, and he chases her. Which we have a policy on the
do.
podcast that you never leave expecting a man to chase
No, you don't.
But Jane did not expect him to chase
She
her.
didn't.
She
It was
just
a
wanted to
surprise.
leave the party.
Yeah, it was a surprise.
surprise
She
chase.
liked it, but it was surprising.
Yeah.
Yes.
So he's like, why did you leave the room? And she was like, I'm tired. And he says, you're pale. And she's like, I'm fine. And he's like, you didn't say hi to me when I came here. You didn't say hi to me. Truly.
It's not a great look, Mr. Rochester.
No, and it's
then
also
just
so weird. You're her boss.
Yeah.
Like, you have the power.
So then he just casually is like, hey, just like, I just was wondering if like everybody in my life left me, like, where would you be?
Yeah, everybody thought I was like the worst person in the whole wide world with no morals, and they just like left
Yeah,
me
like, what would
dying
your
in a
deal be?
ditch.
Would you like also leave me, or would you like stay, or like what's the deal there? And she's like, I would stay for you forever, all the time. And he's like, cool. And she's like, because I would stay for any of my friends.
Right, just any friend. You've been a good friend. And he's like, all right, well, some mystery man from Jamaica is here, and I have to go talk
Mr.
about
Mason.
that. Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And his response is, Jane, this is a blow. And like, not in a sexy way.
No, it's so funny.
And when Mason comes in and they do their like hug or whatever, and then he leaves the room, he just stomps out of the room. He doesn't even say bye to Jane or like look back or anything. And it's like, you're pissed that she didn't say hi to you in a crowded dinner party where she didn't really understand why she was even there. And you're not even gonna say bye to her.
No,
It's the
now
worst.
she's back to being a paid subordinate, as she puts it.
Yes.
Well, also, why doesn't Mason get clothes that fit him?
Right?
Is he borrowing his big brother's clothes?
Has to be.
It's possible.
Yeah.
Because they are enormous on him.
Honestly, I think what happened is that he forgot like what Britain is all about, and he came over on
Yes.
that boat, didn't pack right, and then got there, and he was like, "Great Uncle Frederick, do you have literally anything that I can put on my body?
I'm
Wash
cold.
myself.
I'm
Yeah.
cold."
Yes.
Okay. I didn't see that, but I didn't watch the DVD director's cut. As you obviously did, Melody.
I mean, you really got to do your homework for Heaving Bosoms.
I'm sorry. I love it. I love that you did it. I just had faith that you would.
I know. Well, I
I'm
am.
cheating
I am a
off you.
scholar. You know.
Yeah, we all are.
She is roused in the night because
Yes.
Mr. Mason has gotten double stabbed, once in the back and once in the neck.
Right?
Ooh, just so you know, the neck is a bite.
That's a bite. Oh shit.
Because and the
Oh,
doctor
that makes
is
sense.
like
The doctor
flesh
says
is
it's a bite.
torn.
There's a
Yeah.
laceration and a tear.
Oh,
So he's stabbed in
wowza.
the back and bitten in the neck.
So he calls Jane to his bedchambers where this man is dying.
He's bleeding everywhere.
Dying.
Okay, wait. I just have to. So Mason's gotten stabbed and bit.
Yeah.
The whole house knows. Like the whole house hears.
Right.
And Rochester is like, everything's fine.
He's
Everyone
like,
go
jazz
back to
hands,
bed.
go to bed.
Yeah.
Look over here.
But then he's like, Jane, come with me. You
Yeah.
can tell
That
no one.
slut Blanche is like, is there anything I can do?
I could be the
Like,
lady of the house.
I'm
here
sure
of
my
it.
bedclothes.
Oh.
May I?
How do you like these curlers
He's like,
are
"Get
in
the
my
fuck
hair?
out of here. Yeah. Anyway,
not into it.
So
And he's like, Ms. Poots, go back to
Ms.
bed.
Poots. Lady.
poot off, you know? So then listen, I was very pro Jane this whole movie. This stretch, and Vanessa,
thank you.
I need you to know that we've had a run here of like several episodes of people neglecting to provide basic first aid to others due to romance plots. And it hurts.
Erin can't.
He asks her.
He's like, tend to him.
Clean the fucking wound. Please tend to this man. He's bleeding from his spinal cord.
Right.
And she's like, sure.
Yeah.
And then she's like,
And she's like,
I'm gonna look behind that
do
curtain
I hear a
for a while.
"Woo" somewhere and a
Then
somewhere else?
she just fucks off while the guy's like,
Yeah. She just like
he's
starts
dying.
walking around being like, is there anything behind this tapestry? And then she's like,
Jane
no.
does not give a fuck
No.
whether this man lives or dies.
And then he
she
comes
does not care.
Rochester comes back and he's like, hey, how's the patient? And she's like, sleeping?
She's like, fuck if I know.
Question
I don't know.
mark? He's been fine.
Was I
think.
supposed to do something?
Maybe
Did you
he's
give me a
passed
task?
out because of blood loss? Listen, it's not clear.
I do not love it.
So I do think a lot of time passes. It's supposed to be like 3 or 4 hours. And so I think that she's like, stop the bleeding and then goes and looks behind the tapestry. Right. Because it's like 2 a.m. when the scream and then it's light
right.
out when they get him out. But
That does not translate in the film.
It does not translate in the film. There's something later that I have a question about with lighting confusing me in the film.
Starts to touch him with the rag and then like looks
And then
up at
here's
the
like
curtain and then just fucking drops it.
Somewhere.
Nope. And then so he gets tended to by doctor. Mm-hmm. And then
Who's like, he got
she's like
bit.
Right. And then she's like, who dat murderer though? Yeah. And he's like, shh.
They're outside.
I dragged
so
through life a capital error.
They've sent Mason off. They've like put him in a carriage, and Mason is trying to talk to Rochester and be like, Rochester, and he's like, "Shut up, Mason! Go,
Actually,
go!"
We forgot to tell listener that when he's like, "Hey, tend to his wounds," he like dopes Mason up on a metric fuck ton of laudanum, and then he says, "You do not talk to her on pain of death, and Jane, you also do not say a word to him." And I was like,
And they listen.
I know. Jane does not find this suspicious at all. She's just like, okay, I am a paid subordinate, so I'm going to go figure out who's haunting your house instead of doing my job.
So Jane and Rochester in the morning are like walking around this beautiful English garden. They've like sent Mason off, and they're like sitting outside on a beautiful sunrise.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. And she's like, Mr. Rochester, who did that violence? And he's like, I cannot tell you. And he sits down on the stairs.
Because it was you. Like, here's the thing.
Yeah, it is him. Ultimately, it falls on his shoulders.
That's fair. That's fair enough.
I like that
but
argument.
if you're Jane and you don't know that there's a crazy lady in the cupboard.
Oh, yeah.
Or, it's like you were alone with the person.
Yeah.
This guy came to see you. You were alone in a room with him. And now he has 2 stab wounds. Who did that violence? And then when he doesn't confess to you, you fuck off.
Yeah.
I'm sorry.
You're right.
It was him. And then they're going to get married and she's not even like, can we have just a quick conversation about like, are you a
rewind
murderer?
A sec. Yeah.
She like never brings it up again.
It's kind of great. Okay. So now he's like, Jane, what would you do to assure my happiness? And she would like, I would do anything for you, sir. I would do anything that is right. And he's like, wow.
She has to add that because he might be a fucking murderer.
I think that's her being like, except I'm so cool and aloof that like I would do that for
hide
any
a
of my
body
friends.
is what she's saying. She's saying except lie to the cops or hide a body. That is what she is saying to him.
She won't
Which, if
do
you're not
that.
willing to lie to the cops or hide a body, then why get out?
Hot take, Vanessa. Hot take.
He's like,
Scalding hot.
I've been miserable, but then I came home and I did meet the company of a nice
Soothed.
stranger who did soothe
gentle
my
stranger.
soul. And wow, now I think I want to marry her.
She is without soil or taint.
Yeah, without soil or taint. Come on, purity culture. Go fuck off.
With her, I feel I could love again.
Oh my
He
God.
says.
And he's like, do you think that I should like go for it? You know, or like, should I go with convention?
Should I hop over the obstacle in our path to attain her? And she's like, yeah, sure. I mean, she's rich and hot. Like I guess that's fine.
And he's like,
yeah. And he's like, who do you think I'm talking about? And she's like, Blanche Ingram.
the lady you brought here.
Who's harmonized with you.
Yeah, you've
He's like,
harmonized together. So, yeah. And he's like,
this bitch. And then he puts a flower in her hair and then he doesn't clarify and leaves.
Well, it's a morning glory, which is I Googled this. So I don't know anything about flowers. He puts a morning glory in her hair, which a morning glory is symbolic of strength and gives a person the power to realize their hopes and dreams.
Stop it.
I know. These flowers are resilient and they pass the power to the recipient. So he's saying, I want you to realize your hopes and dreams.
Wow.
You are a hot genius.
Hot genius.
Thanks, Google.
I bow to your glory.
So the Google was purple flowers found in England. And then I brought the laptop to the screen to match Google image search.
This is scholarship.
Just in the hopes that it meant something?
You're incredible.
Yes.
You're incredible.
And it did.
I was just like, he gave her a flower, ? Moving on.
I think, here's the thing.
I wanted to bring
Here's
something
the
to
thing.
the table.
Yeah.
Rochester, he does this thing. She's like, you talking about Blanche or what's the deal? And then he's just like, ugh, like, gosh, I wish she could read my mind. And then he puts a random flower in her hair and is like, this is a morning glory, so she should know that the symbolism here is that she should take the reins. I just feel like he's really given her a lot of credit here for an 18-year-old governess who doesn't think anyone could ever love her, you know? Just saying. And the next morning when she sees him, he's playing some kind of feather blow game with this slut. Like, he's like, he wants her to think that...
Slut shame the coot.
I'm sorry. I didn't mean to call her a slut.
No.
She's probably a virgin. That
also,
had nothing to do.
I also say slut
with her
in a
sexual
very
history.
celebratory way. I am a slut.
I'm so sorry. No. He's playing this blow the feather game with this cunt. Like, are we okay with that?
I'm into it.
So much better. That's all I want.
No, I don't like that
Erin.
either because it disses the female. Whatever. Anyway, it doesn't matter. She sucks.
Yeah.
And
with the meanie head.
Yeah. And what's Jane supposed to think?
I know.
Yeah.
I know. They're literally like, I mean, this game feels very intimate and I don't super know why. But they're like actually trying to like blow a feather and keep it up in the air. And like when she is like, excuse me, sir, he is down on one knee holding the feather up to her as if it's an engagement ring. Like,
True.
Hate it. And then that bitch goes, does this creeping creature want you in regards to Jane?
I could not believe it.
So
and
much.
he does not say, go fuck yourself. He just says, I'll be right back. So then she presents him with a letter. And she's like, my terrible aunt, who is terrible, is dying. So I do believe I need to go and visit her. And then she's like, P.S., you have not paid me a single dime.
No big deal.
And I need, like, money to, like, get places. And
There's no payment schedule at Thornfield.
Oh, my God. So
I know.
Just men doing the absolute least.
I know.
Like, he's not even paying her.
It's incredible.
He owes her 30 pounds a year.
Yeah, so then he's like...
And then he tries to give her 50. She won't accept it. So then he's like, fine, fuck you. Here's 10.
I know.
Ugh.
I know. But then it does get cute. It does get cute because he's like, do you trust... He says, I'm going to keep this 50-pound note and I'm going to keep it right in front of my heart, Jane. Wink. Wink hard. Right in my heart. I'm going to keep it safe for you because it's yours and it's near my heart. And then he's like, do you trust me to keep it? And she goes, not a whit, sir. I don't, like, you can't be trusted
cute.
at all. And it's
That
so
was
cute. And then she leaves without turning back. She does not say goodbye. She is a badass. And he's got like heart eye emoji so hard. Oh, and he also tells her, don't stay too long. Promise me you won't stay too long.
Yeah. I
So
know.
So now we find out about another absolutely unforgivable injustice that her aunt did to her. Wow.
Yeah, so Jane goes and her aunt's on her deathbed and the evil cousin who hit her with the book is dead, died of suicide. I will say that the aunt, Sally Hawkins, she's dying and her bedclothes match the drapes. Which that is an attention to detail. Can you imagine being like, I'm only going to wear pajamas that match the wallpaper?
Incredible.
Kind of love it.
Such a move.
Yeah.
But yeah, she's like, I broke 2 promises. I broke a promise to your uncle that I would raise you. And also I told your other uncle who wrote to me 3 years ago saying that he wanted to raise you and have you inherit all of his money. Super told him that you died of typhus.
Yeah, like 1/3 of all children in England, apparently. Jeez.
Yeah.
Can't get that
So
stat out of
super
my head.
believable.
Wow.
Yeah.
Yeah, and so
And
she's
then
like...
she forgives her like an asshole.
I know.
Like,
She's just like, you know
come
what?
on, Jane.
You go be at peace. I'm cool. We're cool. You are the worst. Still. Like, that hasn't changed, but like, over here, we're fine.
I feel like Mia acts this so well. Because she's like, go in peace, aunt. But she's so pissed.
Oh, yeah.
And immediately goes and writes to her uncle and is like, my aunt is a lying bitch.
Right.
I'm fucking alive. I
Yeah.
live at Thornfield.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Oh, so then she gets back though, and he's like writing her a poem on a bridge.
And wearing a fantastic
He's
hat.
wearing a fancy
in the
hat.
worst hat. Thank you. He's wearing the worst hat.
I love
It's
that
like
a
it.
man
those
can
straw
wear.
boys. Those England Times straw
Like
boys.
tall.
Yeah,
like
yeah.
a tall straw boy.
Yeah.
Like, oof.
Yeah.
It's rough.
And he's smoking like
Oh,
a
we
wood
missed-
pipe.
Oh my god, he is.
Wait, though.
What a fancy man.
After she left that aunt, she does go read that bird book in the windowsill that she was never
steals
able
it.
to read before, and now she knows about birds.
Thank goodness.
And
And so
They
when she gets
fly.
back to Thornberry, she knows
she gets to
everything.
fly wherever she fucking wants, is what she can do.
Yep.
Yep.
As evidenced
Anyway.
later, she needed that book, Erin. You're right.
Yes.
So he's like, hello, do you want to take my hand? I think you might be a romance mirage. And she's like, oh, you're so silly. I'm so happy to be back. And except they do it in like dour England language. And then
She smiles
She does.
for the first
She
time.
does. You're right. You're right. And then, oh my God. And then we get that view of Michael Fassbender from like a little bit above. And he's like doing this slinky lean. And you can see like the line of his torso down to his high-waisted pant. Listen, I may have paused. I may have just
It
like
looks
taken
so
quite the
good.
gander.
you ladies wanted things from this film that it was not giving you.
It's never going to give it to us.
Okay, so then Dench tells her that he is getting ready to get engaged to that cunt.
She's like, the signs are all there. He
yes.
is commissioning jewels. And
yes. So she goes
everything.
to tell him, congratulations on your engagement. I do quit this job. Then he full on chases her, like run down chases her.
It's hot.
Jane is just concerned about Adele, though. She's like, you have to send Adele to school because Mrs. Poots is going to be mean to Adele. And so
Oh,
Adele has to
do you
go to
think that's
school.
why?
Oh, yeah. And she's like, and Mrs. Poots isn't going to want me here, so I quit.
Oh.
Yeah, she's worried about Adele and Mrs. Poots.
I thought she
She's
just
so
meant when
sweet.
I go, like Adele's not like super smart and like she's
No.
so you probably
Oh,
She doesn't
That's
want her to do the, have the
Rochester's
same
shtick.
fate as her. To be
no.
what does she say when she's a little kid? She's like, when I was with my aunt, I was solitary and unloved or something.
And
Oh,
unloved.
my
And she just wants
God.
Adele to be loved at school.
She doesn't want her to
Yeah.
ever lose her spark to dance badly for all to see, you know?
Exactly.
That's what you gotta
But because
cherish
of that false confidence, she's probably gonna be on So You Think You Can Dance and like one of the ones that they just air to make fun of her and then her life will be ruined.
And then
you know?
and
So,
then
like,
her whole life will be built
Jane
on
wouldn't
the
let
fact that like she's going to get a huge social media following because of cringe porn.
Yeah.
People love a cringe. Anyway,
I think she's a future Kardashian. I think taller.
oh, I like this
could
tape.
be.
I think she's like sex tape to fame.
I love this tape.
I love that journey for her.
Yes.
I really do.
Well,
Yeah.
stop condemning her.
Sorry.
She's full Kim.
It's You're
You're right.
Keeping up with Adele. I'd watch it.
Keeping up with Adele. I would watch that.
Yeah, I don't watch
Right?
the other one. I would watch that.
No. I
Yes.
think the other one's not on air anymore.
Yeah. And okay, so now he's running her down. Before she leaves, though, she turns back to him. She's like, "Congratulations!" And then she really starts tromping away.
Spits on him. And runs away.
Basically. So he walks up to her and he's like, "Hey, girl, it's beautiful here in the springtime, right? Like, you probably want to stay. Like, you want to rethink that whole thing." And she's like, "No, am heartbroken, cannot."
Yeah,
and then,
cannot be here with you and your stupid wife.
Yeah, and then he says he's like, "I've got a weird feeling about you. I feel like there's a string tied to right under my left ribs, and it is knotted to a string that originates right around there on you. And if you cut the string, I think I will just start bleeding inwardly."
I know. If we are too far away, the string will break.
I would bleed inwardly, but you would forget me.
You would forget me.
Yes. He doesn't, because she's been cold, right? She's like walked away after the fire and been like, and then she's like, "Yeah, I would be nice to any of my friends twice." He is not sure that she loves him back, but then she loses her mind. He's poked
also
her
been
one
like
too many
very
times.
unclear up until this moment.
He has. Oh, he's been gaslighting the shit out of her. He's been like, he brought Mrs. Poots over just to fuck with her.
Yeah, and she's like, "I could not ever possibly forget you. Like, this is the first time I have felt safe and stable, and I've had, like, any enjoyment at all, and I haven't been terrified, and I've met you, and I've gotten to know you, and, like, it's been the biggest pleasure I've ever known, basically." Yeah. Oh my gosh. And he's like, "Well, then why are you leaving?" And she's like, "Because of your wife." And then he says the words, "I don't have a wife." And she says, "But you're going to get married to Blanche." What did I forget, Erin?
I'm so sorry.
No.
But my favorite line was when she was like, that she cannot stay and become nothing to him.
Oh my God.
While he's married to this other woman, and that if God had blessed her with beauty and wealth, she'd make it as hard for him as it is for her. And I just thought that was a beautiful line.
It is so beautiful.
Well, and then she does her whole, "You think because I'm poor, plain, and little that I am soulless and heartless," right? And then it's like, "My soul, I do not speak to you through the conventions of mortal flesh. It is my spirit that addresses your spirit." Ugh, it's so good.
And then she goes, "No, because it's my spirit and your spirit and we're equals." And he's like, "Yes, we are equals." And then he grabs her hand and he pulls her up to him and she's fighting him. And she's like, "I am an independent woman and I can go where I want." And he's like, "Well, then choose me. I offer you my hand. I offer you my heart. Walk beside me for the rest of our lives. Be my wife. La, 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 la." Yes, he does say that. That's right.
He calls her his lovely, rare, unearthly thing, which you can buy on Etsy on every mug.
Really?
That is a thing that I recognized.
Nice.
I was like, "Oh, it's that one with the unearthly one." And then
This
she
is the
says
famous, "I am no bird and no net ensnares me." And she's like, "And I know that because I read Burke's Book of Birds and I looked at all the birds and none of them look like me."
Yeah.
Not one of them looks like me.
Right. And
I am
Although
not
she
one.
she is kind of birdie. She's a little bit birdie.
you know.
She's like kind of birdie. So then
then
they
Judi
do.
Dench pulls her aside.
Wait,
no,
because
Judi
they
Dench.
kiss. Melody, shut it
Oh
down.
my God, you're right.
She
Who
says,
am I
"Then,
even?"
sir, I will marry you."
Yeah.
And she goes in hard for the kiss. She's like, "I've stared at that painting night after night. I know what kisses are now." And the wind
I
picks
will
up.
say, when they kiss a lot, she's very like, she never really like gets in there for any of the kisses. She's always like leaned back. And I thought that was such like a not great choice for the movie. I would really like her to be leaning in more. But I feel like every time they end the kiss, it's because she's like getting away from him weirdly.
I think she's
I don't know.
scared.
I know,
Yeah,
but
yeah.
like,
I feel like
it
that-
was clearly a choice.
I feel like
made.
that first kiss, she's into it.
She goes.
Yes.
Yeah, no.
Yes.
She definitely goes. She's into
She
it,
goes
but
up.
she's just
Yeah.
like, I don't, this is like, I think she's
I
overwhelmed.
think she doesn't know how is how they're playing
Yes.
it.
Yeah,
And I wish she would have just kind of gone
he's
for
40
it a little
and
more.
she's 18. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
That is.
But then it starts storming, and so they run, and he puts his
Hand in
coat
hand.
over her so she doesn't get wet, and then they run in, and they do what Helen Zaltzman calls a rotato kiss, which is when they kiss and
Yes.
spin simultaneously. And it's
Can I
just
just
very
say
cute.
that when she grabbed his hand in the doorway and then ran with him like through the kitchen or wherever, I like
cute.
actually literally cheered. Okay.
Yeah.
But because I am who I am, I was certain they were going to go bone.
No.
No,
Yeah, no,
Melody.
it's 1881.
This is a Fassbender cock in.
Right. I know. I just, listen, I was fine with it, but I was like, oh my God, is Jane like doing the whole thing?
But
And
what
then
she
he
does
says,
do, which
"Good
is
night, my love."
almost as ballsy, is that after they get done kissing, Dench is in there and she just gives her full on eye contact of like,
smile.
yep.
Just like
Yeah.
beaming smile at JUDY Dench. Oh my gosh. So then the
So
next
good.
day, JUDY Dench is counseling her and she's like, listen. Oh, wait, the actual scene starts, it cuts to her saying, am I some sort of monster? Like, is it that weird that he would love me? And Judy's like, no, that's not what I'm saying. All I'm saying is that, like, when I have seen this trope play out before, it usually ends with you having sex with him being like, jokes, and then you either dying of an abortion or like dying in a slum because you did have a kid you couldn't support and nobody would.
So like, wait until that wedding to do sex with him.
Yeah.
And he's chopping up the dead tree that got struck by lightning. They were standing under that tree when he proposed, and it got struck by lightning. Why? Act of God. And it's a chestnut tree that got rended in half. I would not know any of that if I didn't have the book memorized.
I
Didn't
even
Vanessa,
see that
do you think that that's a metaphor?
I think it might be a metaphor.
Are you serious? Wow. Do you
Yeah,
think Bronte
he's like-
metaphored at us?
She did. She metaphored right in your
Wow.
face.
Oh my God.
I love that, and that was also not clear in the movie.
No, it's not clear at all.
Here's the thing: she should probably not have sex before
no, she should
the
not.
wedding because of what Dench said. Correct. What she should do before the wedding is just have a sit down about that attempted murder.
tiny chat.
Just have a little meeting
Right.
where we just talk about
Just a coming together of
how
minds.
There was no one else in the room but him. And
Right.
maybe we should talk through what we call, in my world, a TikTok of the evening.
Yeah.
Exactly where were you?
Was
in
it
5-minute
Mr.
increments
Rochester with his
of the
teeth
time.
parts in the inner room?
Because no one
Was
else
it?
had means or opportunity.
Was it?
So
I would love if they added teeth to one of the weapons on Clue.
In Clue.
But
but she never mentions it.
No, but can we talk about the very cute moment? So Mrs. Fairfax makes her feel bad, and then Jane is like pacing, and she's like, I don't even know what's happening. And Mr. Rochester rides up on his horse, and she's fretting, and he's like, oh, you missed me? And she's like, everything feels unreal. And he says, I'm real enough. And she cuddles with his thigh because he's on the horse.
He
and
is
so
on that
she's
horse.
cheek to
And
thigh.
Fassbender has a good thigh.
He's got a nice meaty thigh to cuddle with.
And
Yeah.
he just like strokes her hair. And I love that, like, a week ago she'd never been kissed, and now she's full on thigh cuddling.
Yeah.
I feel like it shows that they feel very comfortable with one another.
Absolutely.
That's true.
Absolutely. I mean, as will be said erroneously later, it is one soul recognizing another in this
Yes.
situation. But
Yes.
I will say one of my favorite parts of this whole thing is he says, I'm real. And she says something to the effect of, you're the biggest phantom of them
Most
all.
phantom-like of all.
Oh, God.
You know why? Because she can't trust him.
Yeah, because she doesn't know anything about him. And there are creaks and bumps and maimed men.
And he does keep alluding to like shit he won't tell her about. So that is what she's saying.
But now
anyway,
we have a bunch of we have just this montage of domestic bliss as their wedding approaches. She's drawing him, they're flirting, they're like frolicking in the fields of morning glories. It's great. And
There's a mulberry tree blossoming.
yes, one of those.
Googled that too.
Amazing.
Couldn't find anything interesting about them. But it's
Fair
very
enough.
pretty.
Then it's wedding time. She's unpacking that wedding dress. She is getting a fancy braid in her hair so that you can see the braid in front of the bonnet, you know, one of those. And then the weirdest shit in the world happens. And I'm wondering, Vanessa, if you can explain it from a book perspective.
Yeah.
That is, I thought she was like going out to the carriage to like get in the carriage to go to the church. Instead, he's like chatting with men about packing and stuff. And then, apropos of nothing, almost like bowling down Judi Dench, he just like runs over to her, basically grabs her arm and then drags her on foot to the church. What is going on?
So
Excited.
the carriage is waiting for them to take them to the train station to take them to London for their
honeymoons.
For the
So
honeymoon.
it's packed up, and it's packed up with a lot of heavy things. Like you actually see them loading in what's most likely a box of gold, because like that's how you traveled, and so it's like heavy. But yeah, he most likely knows that Mason has sent a solicitor, and so he wants to get this done.
Oh my God, that's so much fucking worse. That's so much worse, Vanessa.
I think
that's
that
so
day,
much worse.
he's like, right, because
so
when the
much
solicitor comes,
worse.
should we tell the people what we're talking about? Because he does. He like runs. And in the book, she like almost faints because she's like in a tight corset. And she's like, I can't run, I can't breathe. And he like lets her rest for a second. And then like,
what
they
a man,
keep running.
you know? What a dream.
He's like, oh, I'm so sorry. I don't want you to faint. Erin looks so
Listener,
turned on right now,
I cannot
everyone.
wait for you to see Erin's face in the video. I cannot
this
wait.
fact has truly transformed my whole... Because I was like tentatively like muscling through being okay with it.
So wait, what?
And
what
now I am
changes?
lost.
Because it's unclear. It's unclear why he's in such a rush. We do not know for sure that he
But that makes
knows
the
that
most
Mason
sense.
is coming.
Yeah.
But he is in
But
a rush in
even
the book
if-
as well.
But the fact of her getting so like nearly passing out is like also a big problem. Like,
Yes.
my God, man. Like I don't like him now. I'm sorry.
Well, so he tries
I'm
to rush
sorry.
through this wedding, and nobody's there, which I found to be weird. And then he's like,
Neither of them have anyone.
they have all
No
the
one
servants.
likes him. No one's alive to like her.
Judi Dench would love to be there. Are you shitting me?
Yeah.
Adele
Judi Dench
would
has to
love
deal
be
with
there.
the carriage and shit.
I think that
she's not
he
their friend.
knows that he's committing a crime, attempting
does.
a crime, and he doesn't want anyone to be implicated. The first thing he says when he gets caught, we have to tell the people. So a solicitor comes in with Mason in his too big coat that he borrowed from his Uncle Frank.
Right.
And is like, Mr. Rochester, you can't get married. Your wife's alive. And Mason's like, saw her a month ago. She bit and
Did
stabbed
bite
me.
in the jugular.
And Rochester, the first thing he says is this girl talking about Jane knew nothing.
Knew nothing.
And
He says she thought everything was fair and legal. She didn't know she was being duped into a marriage with like a fraudulent
Bigamist.
wretch or
yeah,
something.
oh yeah, fraudulent wretch.
Oh
And then
my
he
God.
says,
Accurate.
bigamy is an ugly word, but that is what I meant to be, a bigamist. I know, it's very, yeah.
Oh my God. So then she's like a deer in a headlight, right? And he's like, and then he does that, let's drag everybody around again. So he's like, come Jane, come everyone, let's meet my wife. And so they rush back to the house. He's like batting servants out of the way. Get out of my way. Get out of here.
One of the truly funny moments is when Adele throws the flowers.
Yeah. Adele.
And he's like, you're 15 years too late. And Adele's like, I just wanted to throw some petals.
Okay.
Erin's
I have a few
really
things.
having a hard time. I love
I
it.
am. I have listen. We learn in this cluster of scenes
Right.
that Mr. Rochester's knee-jerk reaction when he is challenged with his own actions, his first impulse is always manual strangulation.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
He does it to this brother.
Yep.
And then he does it to Jane
does it
later.
to Jane later.
So listen, if he does a strangle on her.
He does it. It's not a
he
serious
does.
strangle.
It's
It's
not
a light strangle.
It is
a strangle.
It is a contemplation of the possibility of strangle.
Well, on our show, we do call it a light
That's a
strangle.
light strangle. Yeah.
He holds her. Wait, that is the next scene. I will
sorry.
fight
I
you
know, I'm
about
just saying
that
in
later.
this- in this cluster of things,
I'm going to
with
fight
scenes,
you
we
one at a
learn this.
time. But yes, he definitely goes to fight. I'm not going to fight you on the first strangle. He does a strangle.
The fight or flight is for him manual strangulation, which it is a red flag. That is a red flag. Then also, clearly he's traumatized this woman with just the church scene. Like these people coming in and being like, he's married. And then he further traumatizes her by dragging her. Like, let's just everybody just calm down for a minute. Maybe he could sit down and talk to her about it.
Can't possibly.
I mean,
Well,
my God.
Well, so bigamy is a crime, and there's a solicitor there and a priest there, and so he wants to be like,
Still
look,
is.
right? So, but he wants to be like, look what I was married to, right? He's trying to make everyone pity him so he won't be charged with the crime.
Well, he
doesn't have to drag Jane there.
no, I agree with
he
you. I'm
doesn't.
just saying.
No, but it's
He's
also
going for
like,
pity points because it turns out that Bertha is a mad woman in the attic, right? And she has like a very unclear mental health diagnosis and has been locked there. And we hear her caretaker, Grace Poole, being like, she's violent. She's not allowed any furniture because she'll whittle it into a weapon. And I let her into a spear, into a trident. Spear. And then she's wears a puka shell necklace.
Just like Flipper Man.
There's Bertha's in there just living her best life. Her best covered life.
And what makes Erin think this is the fact that Grace Poole goes, I do take her up to the roof to have a walk every day. Yeah. That line happens in the background.
Who can ask for more, you know?
Well, so then
it's
clear she doesn't really know who's in the room or what's going on, except for the fact, and I have a question about this. This is a legitimate question. So she snuggles on Rochester and he's like, my personal demon. And then she looks at, cute girl, Jane, thank you. And then she spits something on her and I was certain it was a fly.
That was a live fly,
it was a
right?
live fly, right?
Yeah, I think so.
Okay. I'm so glad you saw that too.
We were all right?
Yes.
Okay, cool. All right. Well, then, after she does get the fly spit on her, Jane does change her clothes out of her wedding dress.
Yeah. And she's wearing two corsets. She takes off a corset and then she has another corset.
It's so
like
mean.
This poor child.
Had a bad day.
Bad day. She's had a bad. So you've had a bad day is about this. It's about this day.
Yes.
Got it.
He's laying outside her door in the nighttime. Then he's like, why aren't you crying? Which is like, take a step back, sir.
Can you not regulate my emotions right now?
Yeah. He's like, you should scream at me. Then she like nearly passes out because he's being so rude. Then he carries her.
Oh my God.
Then he tries to kiss her. And then it's like, sir.
All the time. CVS, pass out.
This level of rudeness? Absolutely.
Yeah, he tries to kiss her, and she's like, wow, can't do that. And he's like, well, you listen, you know that, like, basically she can't even consent to marriage anymore. She doesn't know where she is. So, like, who would it offend if we lived together? Like, what would it...
If she was...
My God, my favorite is that he says...
No, I'm going to change it.
He says, do you love me still? And she's like, the emotion on her face is just beautiful. And then he says, then all like the formative things are the same. You know, like nothing has changed except for this one teensy illegal
big
thing.
Time. He's like, just stay here and fuck me.
Yeah.
Like, it's fine. And she's like, it's not fine because of, I have to be married to you. And also you lied to me big time. Like, I have a question that I'm just going to say out into the world that there's no answer to. But Bertha was crazy when he married her, right? He just didn't know it, right?
Well, how long do you have?
Infinity.
Everything.
Because this is a question I need answered.
So there are mountains of scholarship on it. There's a sort of fan fiction book that was written in the 1960s called Wide Sargasso Sea about it by Jean Reese, who's a white Creole woman who wrote a book essentially saying that Rochester drove Bertha crazy.
Love it.
That in what the Jean Reese theory, which again is like really just fan fiction, it's just very popular, well-respected fan fiction, is that so what Rochester tells us is that Bertha's mother was crazy also, and that he was told that she was dead, but it turns out she was crazy. And
she was in a different cupboard.
Yes, she was in another cupboard in Jamaica.
Right.
And that Bertha had a brother who died by suicide because he was crazy. And in the Jean Reese book, she's like, well, Bertha's mother went crazy because her son committed suicide. And so it's all like trauma-based PTSD
Responses,
essentially.
yeah.
Yeah. And there were like anti-slave rebellions going on in Jamaica at the time. So it was like a very difficult time in Jamaica. And so anyway, there are different theories. The book, I think Charlotte Bronte wants us to think that she was crazy when Rochester married her.
Yeah, because he said we barely spoke before the wedding.
Yes.
And like I lived with her for 4 years.
And her temper ripened. And the book uses all of... So Bertha's supposed to be a white Creole, but contemporary ideas of white Creoleness was basically that you got like infected by the land and by the humidity. And the way that she's described with purple bloated features is the way that people wrote about alcoholism. So it's a very complicated way that she's written about, but absolutely Bronte wants you to think that he married a woman with mental health problems and that he quote unquote spared her the madhouse. And like did the best that he could by locking her in this cupboard.
Then I just want to say this out loud.
It's your podcast.
At common law, if you marry somebody who you think is sane and turns out to be insane, such that they can't consent to the marriage and can't consent to, or they're very violent or torturous or whatever it is, he could get that marriage annulled.
Most likely not, because money exchanged hands.
That's what I was going to, But he did keep her fortune, right?
He kept all her money.
All I could think was he didn't want to get this thing annulled because he needed her money, and then he stuffed her in a cupboard.
Well, it was his dad.
Yeah.
Oh, shit.
So his dad wanted him to get the money, then his dad and his brother died, but he didn't want to give up the money even though he inherited all the other money. If you're Bertha, you get married off to a guy for a lot of money in Jamaica. You've never met him. And then he, after 4 years, kidnaps you, takes you to England, locks you in an attic, and takes all your money.
Yeah.
And no shit, you bite and stab your brother when you see him because that asshole's letting it happen.
I mean, Rochester does say you guys are here 15 years too late, which I think is well taken by me. But I think one thing that's kind of left out from this movie / book maybe is like, he did take that money though.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Oh, he super took the money.
Whoa.
Not to be a dick. You should listen to my podcast. Because the episode where we find out about Bertha, the last line of my opening monologue is, he something like he kidnapped her and kept all the money. I will listen
to that episode.
Like he kept every fucking cent. Absolutely. And it's all slave money, right? It's Jamaica slave trade money. So it's dirty money. And Bronte knew all of this, right? Like Bronte could have made Bertha an English woman who went crazy and he had to lock her in the attic, right? She's like trying to do political things. She's fucking it up. Like she's not doing a great job, but she is trying to be progressively political. There's what Miriam Burstein calls an ideological horizon that she cannot see past. And that is definitely like evident in her writing, but she's trying. She's trying.
Wow.
So, but Rochester sucks big time. But aren't you totally compelled by his speech? Whom would you offend by living with me? I'm like, no one.
Whom,
Go!
Jane?
And she says, me. I would offend.
Yeah, me, this guy.
I must respect myself.
This guy.
Yeah.
So this is when she packs her
But this is also when he does the light
ties
strangle.
that handkerchief on a stick.
So this is the
Oh,
second.
because he begs her. He begs her with his hand to her
by
neck.
the neck. And he says, I could bend her with my finger and my thumb, but what good would it do? It is her soul I want. So he's like, I could murder you.
What I could do, because finger and thumb
I don't want to snuff out that soul.
would do the jugular there, and you could die.
I think what he's saying is I could rape you, and then you would have to be with me, but I don't.
Is that worse? I don't know.
What a charmer, this guy.
I think that's what... I don't think he's threatening her. I think he's thinking.
You think he's like gaming everything out?
Yeah, he's like, how can I keep her? I love her so much. I could rape her, but no, I want her to come to me consensually. So that won't work.
He says that.
Yeah. I think that is literally what he is thinking. Is he's gaming out. Raping her won't get her the way I want her to come.
Yeah.
Yeah. But what she says, right, he's like trying to kiss her and she says, God help me.
Yes.
And it's Mia, again, is just so good, right? And
It's
she like
heart-wrenching.
pushes him off of her and just runs.
So yeah, she does get that stick and that handkerchief, and she ties it up, and she gets on her way, and she's sobbing.
She gets on a train.
And then we see the same stuff from the
going across
beginning.
Kansas.
Yes, we go through the whole scene, except it's like more now. Great stuff.
Okay, but this is a moment that I'm like, is this continuity or are they doing something? She lays down on a rock to die.
Yeah.
And then she turns over
And it's
and
Heather.
she's in the middle of Heather.
I thought
Yes.
I thought they were trying to say that she did this multiple times.
Yeah, that's what I thought
Okay.
too.
I was
Yeah.
like, there's no way that they made a mistake this big. So
Like,
she
can we
laid
just
down to
talk
die on
about
a rock a lot.
The self-indulgence of white women, though. Like, sorry,
She's
I'm a white woman.
homeless.
I know, but
Homeless and has no reference or
what should I
money
do?
or anywhere to go.
I think I'm gonna lay down in this bush and just cry.
I feel like it's
because
more
I'm-
like the late teens, early 20s. Like, I think
Oh,
it's more
absolutely
about her
that.
youth than anything. Because, man, if
fair.
I had a field of Heathers to, like, lay in and just sob and sob and sob about
I mean-
a boy breaking up with me.
Don't you want that now?
have
Yeah,
been there almost. You're right, it is an age
Yeah.
thing as well. Anyway, so now we flash forward and we're back at the school,
Yes.
right?
Yes.
Yes.
So she's met St. John. She's met Diana
Yep.
and Mary. She's working at the school. She has two very cute little girls helping her clean up.
St. John just kind of like comes in, like casually brags about curing his own depression. Then he's like, hey,
He's like, buck up.
I know,
You'll be
right?
fine.
He's like, hey, Jane Eyre, would you mind like doing some stuff? Jane Eyre, like, would you mind taking my coat, Ms. Eyre? And then he's like, gotcha, your name is Jane Eyre. There are people looking for you.
No, first,
Yes.
no, I'm sorry. I have to talk about this for 7 hours, and it's very minute, so it's going to be ridiculous. But what he does is he comes in and he's like, I think you've got the constitution of a similar person like me, and that you can do hard things. Because I'm so
Hard
big
things
and
like
great.
colonizing.
And then he walks over to a desk and he's like rifling through these sketches, and he's like, are these yours? And she's like, mm-hmm. And he picks one up that's signed Jane Eyre, Jane Eyre, Jane Eyre, Jane Eyre at the bottom. And then looking her dead in the fucking eyeballs, he just folds it and puts it in his pocket. And he's like, all right, well, skip-de-doo-dah, gotta go. And she doesn't say anything. She's not like, that is my personal property, sir. Doesn't say a word. She's just like, bye, I guess.
I love that you hate him.
He's the worst. I just can't let
I'm
the
in a
balls
place
on this
now
fucker.
that I know why. I'm in a place now that I know why he went to that wedding so fast.
You were going to say Rochester.
I don't know who to love.
You know what? Listen, I have some hot takes about this guy as well, probably. Anyway, so then we fast forward, and she's like in a blanket in her tiny house, and she's doing a contemplate about her past.
Living van life.
Hashtag
Super
van
cute.
life.
Super cute.
It's like shabby chic
Loving
and
it.
stuff. So then there's like a knock on the door, and we get this whole thing where she walks over and opens it, and it is Rochester, and she just like grabs him and makes out with his entire face. And in my notes, it literally says, "Oh no, is this a dream?"
Yep.
mark. And right at that moment, it switches, and it is fucking St. John. And he's there to be like, "Hey, girl, know you're a big liar who lies." And I just need you to, and she's like, oh my God, you can't let him find me, but also how is he?
Do you know anything about him? Did he say anything about me?
Did he say anything about me? And he goes, I don't know what the fuck you're talking about. Actually don't care about your past problems. Didn't even question it. What I will tell you though, is that woman who's indebted to me with your life, I don't know if you recall that. You are worth 20,000 pounds. Incredible.
That
I know.
uncle,
Wow.
who the aunt told him that she was dead. She did write to him and be like, she lied, I'm alive, but then she didn't hear anything back. Well, he's now dead, and she's his sole heir.
Yeah.
And then
Can I tell you guys something that
Always.
is super different in the
Please.
book? It's not just that it turns out that she has inherited 20,000 pounds. It turns out that St. John, Diana, and Mary are her cousins. So she collapsed and almost died on the threshold of her cousins. This is like very much HEA, like the thing she wants is family and independence, and she gets all of it because like God is rewarding her because she did the hard thing of leaving this man who wanted to turn her into a sinner, and God is rewarding her with family and money. And so that is not
well,
I actually,
of course
I
it's
actually
not.
like that a lot more because what happens is in the movie she looks at him and she goes, how much money would it take for you to be my brother? Can I pay you to be my brother, please?
Because she's just so fucking desperate for a family, and all he wants to do is dick her down, and it's the worst.
I know. Oh God. And like only missionary, and it's like 3 pumps and a shudder, and he does not believe that the clitoris exists. And it's very like, we have to do this because the Lord tells us we have to procreate and for no other reason. Oh, anyway. So he's like, sure, we'll be your brother for $5,000. Can't wait. And then the sisters come home because they're also worth a lot of monies now. And then we get this really awful, is it a reading of a text? Is it a prayer? What's happening?
He's reading from the book of Revelation about how sinners will go to hell.
And then they end, well, I was confused because then they end all of that with amen. And so I was like, what's happening right now? Like, anyway. So then they all get up and they do the thing that every normal family does all the time. And both of those hot sisters go over to that apparently Greek god brother and they do smooch him right on the fucking mouth hard. Okay. And then the other one.
With tongue, they do like lick each other's lips first, and then they go. It's very sensual. Vanessa, do you have anything to say about how you're fine with it?
Teeth actually clank. I just want to say that your breasts look amazing.
Thank you. Thank you. They're really pert for my age. Thank you. That means a lot to me. It is a peck, but it is a weird peck.
It's a peck. It's weird. Everything about it is weird. Do the sisters then go kiss on their threshold of their door? I don't think so. I think it's a weird.
That is true. Like when we read, what was the one with that panther boy?
Kiss the boys.
Yes. So we read. I'm sorry,
with the slave
but
of
we
sensation.
read a thing where they were all in a panther pack together. And the boys and girls in the Panther Pack kissed in like a non-sexual way just to show affection.
No, the alpha kissed
the alpha kissed all the women in the pack. Like and with the boys, he did something else, like wrestling. And it's like, if it's not sexual, you have to kiss everyone. You're right. Those sisters need to kiss on the mouth.
Yes.
But I bet you that the father kissed
still weird.
all of them the same. I bet you the father kissed
I'm totally fine with that.
I'm fine.
I'm totally fine with that.
Okay, anyway. Yeah. So it's weird.
No, I'm still not fine with the rest of it because I do not think those sisters
But then one
kiss.
of the sisters is like, go make out with Jane.
The Borgia sister. The Borgia sister is the one who does
if
this.
she's really our sister, you
Borgia.
have to kiss her on the
You
mouth.
better go kiss her.
So he does. And that alights something in him.
And it
awkward. Awakens a lust within.
Beast of a dragon of a love story.
I disagree. I think he's like, I didn't get hard at all kissing her.
She's the perfect
She'd make a great wife.
You're right.
Because I don't want to fuck.
Oh, it hurts me. Oh, you're so right about it.
Wow. Vanessa, you have told the truth on this day that will never be forgotten.
Mark of the day.
So then he follows her back to her room like an absolute fucking creeper. And he says, Jane, I think you have the constitution for a
missionary.
A missionary's wife.
God intended you for a missionary's wife. I want to claim you.
I want to claim you. Never hated the word claim so much in my life. And she's like, I don't have that in me. And he's like, no, you super do. I see a soul mirror here.
Yeah.
God, he's such a fucking arrogant
so after
asshole.
he smooched her, he came to her room and said, I'm going to India in 6 weeks. And I'd like you to come with me.
Yeah, to do a
big colonize. And she's like, I'll think about it. And then this conversation where he says he wants to claim her as his wife and everything is spurred on by her coming to him and saying, I'll go to India, but I want to...
No. That's the offer from the beginning. And then the next conversation is her being like, listen... I want to go halvesies on this.
Said.
We'll go to India.
But yes.
Not going to be your wife.
I thought that's what I was saying.
Oh, I thought you said one, like,
it doesn't matter. She wants to go, but not as his wife. And he's like, no, if you're going to go,
agree.
You're going to go as my wife. What would you go? You're a woman. How else would you go?
How could you go with...
He says, you can't give half a sacrifice, which means that he thinks marrying him is a sacrifice.
And that he's sacrificing to marry
talk
her.
about the premise of this. Yes. I was like,
in that Revelation reading he was doing, it's like all the believers have to toil and struggle because our Lord always toils and struggles, and so we can never be happy.
look at you doing a close reading.
Thank you so much.
But then Jane says, to marry you would kill me.
And he says that is...
And he's like, that's dramatic.
He says that is unfeminine and untrue.
Unfeminine.
Incredible.
So gross.
Incredible.
And then she hears Rochester's voice on the wind.
Oh, wait, no. The worst one is when she says, my heart is mute to you. And he says, then I will speak for it. Sorry, that was just that was the worst one to me.
No, thank you. Because I forgot. I wiped that from my whole brain and wow. Then I will speak forward. We will get married. And he says, and enough of love will come. And she turns around and she's like, enough of love? Enough? Like, I don't think you understand what
and
love
he's like, I know
is.
where your
And then
heart got snagged on, that lawless passion that you had.
Yeah. That fucking lust over there with the married man.
But then she hears him. I'm sorry, I interrupted you.
Yes. No, thank you. I love all those details. But did you guys think it was weird that she just started walking straight up a mountain?
She just went as the crow flies
like,
toward Rochester.
She's just 19 and she's been called, you know?
Scaling
no
up that
provisions
mountain.
again.
I love it.
But clearly at some point she goes home and gets a bag and packs, because then we see her in a carriage.
Yeah, and then she
in a
gets her
nice
fancy carriage
bonnet.
because she's a
I
fancy
kind of
lady
love that
now.
though, that she just runs away, like the most away she can.
Yeah.
He's here. If she runs at any angle, it's not the
not
most
on the
away from
road.
St. John she can get.
Right.
She has to go over that mountain hill.
Amazing. And he's just shouting at Jane, why are you talking to no one? Jane! So then she comes back and Thornback is burnt to the ground and it's awful. It's ruins. And then the specter of JUDY Dench is there. Where does she come from?
So weird. It's such a good question. I don't know. This is not in the book, but she's amazing. So this whole speech isn't in the book, and I think it is a net good. I love when JUDY Dench is like, why didn't you come to me? I had money saved. I didn't know that it was his wife locked up there. I would have helped you.
I thought it was just some random bitch.
He had some random bitch caged in the attic. Okay, listen. Ma'am, whether he has a random bitch caged in the attic or his wife, I want to know. If we're friends, I want to know either way. Mel, if my husband has some random bitch
Melody, are you
up there,
Are you writing this down?
I will let you know. Yeah. I'm a good friend. That's chief of my qualities is I will tell you about that bitch in the attic. So anyway, no, but I did love that. I had money. I would have helped you. I would have funded your escape. I love you. We're bros.
Yeah.
So then she's like, where is he? And she's like, well, these days he usually just hangs out by that big oak tree. Around the bend.
Is that the tree,
so
Vanessa?
She goes.
Oh.
Is it the tree?
No.
Is it a tree?
It's not. He's supposed to be miles and miles away, but it seems like she just walks to the tree.
In the
it's
book,
very
doesn't
weird.
he lose a foot or something?
A hand. So he's blind. He loses one eye, is blind in the other, and loses a hand. And wait, we missed a couple things. So the house is burned down, and Mrs. Fairfax is like, Bertha set it on fire. He got us all out of the house, and Bertha jumped and committed suicide. And what's not explicitly said is, so Rochester is free to marry now because crazy lady died.
Yeah, because she completed suicide after she burnt the whole house down.
Fucking love her, though. She's like, this house built on slavery with my money. Yep. Fuck it all, bitches.
I hope she read a book on birds and that she learned to fly.
Anyway, so she does go over to Rochester and he's like, who's there? Who's there? And she doesn't say anything, which I really love.
I know.
I loved it.
Oh, I think it's
weird.
I think it's weird to fuck with a newly
You're right.
Oh, you think that was fucking with him? Oh, I didn't even think about that. You're so right.
I don't think she's intentionally fucking with him. And I think that, anyway, he's upset. And he hasn't been blind for long,
Yeah.
so I don't feel like his other senses are keen yet.
Yeah.
I'm like, dude, just be like, it's me, Jane. And then he recognizes her hand, which I was like, would I recognize Peter's hand?
No.
Like, again, like blind people are very good at that because they
Yeah, but I
We don't
Practice.
have
Like,
epic
he's new.
loves, you know?
Short
We just
time
have
ago.
regular type true
Fair.
loves.
I guess I
Yeah.
super like.
No, we do.
But it's
We
just
all
like
do.
my partner.
The regular.
I
This
would
is
not
this is
recognize
this
him.
is different. This is spirit
Yeah.
love.
This is
I would not hear his voice on the wind.
right.
David has been in trouble so many times, and I've been like, "What was I doing at that moment? Eating a grilled cheese sandwich." Anyway,
Okay.
With tomato, because
Straight.
if so, worth
No.
it.
Straight.
No,
can't do it.
no. I
Okay,
don't do
so
that.
he's like, Jane Eyre, and she's like, I am come back to you, which is one of my.
I know, I love that
I
weird.
love it. I love it really
Yeah.
hard. And then they smooch, and it's over
They
now.
do. And then,
Forever.
well, I just
Please.
have one question about the smooch. So in the book, he's supposed to be blind in the eye that
Yeah.
he still has. In this, he's doing a weird blinking thing at the end. And then at the end of the book, the very, very end, the second to last paragraph, is that he's starting to get some of his sight back. And do you think his weird blinking at the end is supposed to be like, she's back and now I can see?
didn't
Her,
think
that. No.
her love heals his sight.
Okay, good.
I didn't read that, but now that I know about the last
Okay.
paragraph, I kind of think that's
I
what
thought
they were
this was
doing.
a fairly new injury,
I do too. He's
so I
doing
thought he was
this
kind of in
weird
pain or
blinking.
something. Like I thought
Yes.
his eyes were like dry.
Okay,
or-
Or
okay.
like
Because it takes 10
overwhelmed.
years for his sight to come back in the book. Yeah. If it's tears, then I get it.
tears.
But he's like blinking weird. And I'm like, I hope
Maybe
that they're
he's,
not
like,
trying to say that you
trying
got your
to
sight
see
back
her.
because of a hug.
Oh,
Maybe. Yeah, okay.
Wow. Well, apparently true love can cure blindness in Bronte's world, and I
And
love
overcome
that
a
for
mountain
her
of
and
shit.
them. Boy, all that slavery, you know.
A lot of
That's-
betrayal there.
Are you all, and you're really not mad
No!
at me, Erin? You're
No.
not mad at me that I made you watch this?
Me?
You seem very upset at
I am.
Rochester.
Oh no.
Yeah,
This
well,
is just how we
Rochester, not at me.
experience media.
Yeah. No, I know
This is
that.
how we do it over here. We're like, I'm going to put myself right in their shoes and then react on the fly.
I love it. I just wanted to I brought him into your
Oh,
life
no,
and I
not
feel
at
a
all.
little
No.
guilty. It's a fucked up book.
please.
It's a
I-
fucked up movie.
To be completely
Rochester's
honest
so
with
hot.
you, I knew it was a gloomy movie. I've seen parts of it. I think it was on HBO during a time where I was like home a lot, like a summer or something. And
Yeah.
I was dreading it all week. And I was like, ugh, gotta watch Jane Eyre. And then I enjoyed it. Like, then I was like, oh, this is great. Like, the whole time I was like, nah, I shouldn't have been dreading this like I was. Like, I had this idea of what it was going to feel like to watch it, and it wasn't like that at all. I
No, I
really
liked
enjoyed
it.
my time
I'm
with it.
so glad. Phew, so glad. You love watching
Yes,
kids
that was
get
it.
beaten.
I was like, God, I haven't seen enough child abuse this week, and I wanted to see more.
Yeah, I've seen a couple of adaptations, and I think I like this one the best.
I think
Yeah.
it is the best. The Ruth Wilson one is pretty good with Maggie Smith's
Yes.
son.
Yeah.
But I really like this one. I agree.
Yeah. Okay. Incredible. And I mean, praying with Jane Eyre, man.
It's not.
I love it.
It's not as funny as
It doesn't. No, but that's good.
There are some jokes. Not all the jokes, but it's not this fun. But yes, Praying with Jane Eyre and then On Air and Hot and Bothered. If you like Jane Eyre, you should listen to our current season of Hot and Bothered. All we do is talk about Jane Eyre. And we talk to academics about what race is Bertha, and brilliant people are talking to us all the time. It's incredible.
Yay.
You all know having a podcast
Yeah.
is
So
just,
great.
That
get
sounds
back to people.
fantastic.
It's incredible.
It opens doors
So.
that you would never have otherwise. It's crazy.
Are we going to do Lady Loves?
Vanessa, do you have lady love?
So this is a lady love that I'm missing right now because I just finished it. So I listened to all of your movie episodes, and I loved them. Although I couldn't tell, Melody, are you the snorter? The
Yes,
snorter,
yes,
the one
I
who
am the
laughs and goes?
snorter.
Because why didn't you call out that Sandra Bullock is in Miss Congeniality, and you had that in common
That's
with
so
her.
true.
And I kept
mean,
waiting for you
honestly-
to be like, I am Miss Congeniality,
Honestly, it just seems so
and you
natural
didn't.
to me that I didn't even know
Yeah.
it.
It's
So-
weird when somebody isn't a snorter.
Anyway, I was...
It's true.
So I love like watch along podcasts, including y'all's, and I recently listened to every episode of Veronica Mars Investigations with Jenny Owen Youngs and Helen Zaltzman. It is on that podcast that they coined the term rotato kiss because Logan and Veronica do it a lot. And so if you love this podcast that you're listening to now, everybody, and you love Veronica Mars, check out Veronica Mars Investigations. It is so charming. I don't know why it was all I could listen to. I started dreaming about Veronica and Logan.
Amazing.
Like I was listening like 5 hours a day. Anyway, I highly recommend. Are you guys Veronica Mars people?
I am. I
can't
love wait.
It.
I'm like subscribing
it's two
right
charming
now.
women. It is your
Wonderful.
podcast, but Veronica Mars. It's two charming, wonderful women talking about Veronica Mars. It's so good.
Because I am also missing a Veronica Mars. There's a Veronica Mars shaped hole in my whole body.
Helen Zaltzman and Jenny Owen Youngs will fill it.
Wow.
So that is my lady love.
I'm so excited.
Right now.
Okay. Erin,
mine
what's
is
yours?
weird and dumb. But
Cool.
my friends recently watched during a ladies' night Pirates of the Caribbean, a 20-year-old film at this point, that is not without its problems.
Oh,
So
wow.
good.
However, as
That's 20 years old.
oh, sorry,
Wow.
yes. A problematic fave for sure, but they watched it and figured out that the villain of the movie in some ways, who is named James Norrington, the Commodore Norrington. Remember, he was going to marry Keira Knightley.
Oh, yes. The British man.
He's the one that proposed to her.
Say huzzah.
She
a
so
lot.
much
Jeffrey
didn't want to
Rush?
marry him that she fell over the wall and then got rescued.
Right.
He's the hero of the film, and he's a great romance hero. So now that we're in our mid-30s, if you watch it, he is a very unproblematic feminist man. And at the end, when she's like, I don't want to marry you, I want to marry this degenerate, he's like, okay, that's fine. And also, you make great swords, and also I'll step away. I don't want someone who doesn't want me. And then he doesn't punish Jack Sparrow, even though he stole his boat and caused all this havoc. He's like, we'll be fine with you too. Go off. And it's the first time in a Disney movie where a jilted man doesn't end up just murdering, Gaston or
Fair.
so.
Yeah.
If you're a lady of a certain age, maybe give that a rewatch, and maybe you'll have a different preference.
I'm gonna rewatch that.
in the
That's
film.
really exciting. Oh my gosh.
I love that. Is a wonderful hot.
That's my lady love.
I really like it.
What do you got, Mel?
My lady love is also stupid but good. And that is, if you need to, give yourself a bad haircut.
Did you cut your own hair again?
Sometimes I have been cutting my own hair since the pandemic started, and I have not stopped. So the most recent one didn't go as great as it has before.
You look great.
Thank you. Yeah, no, it's fine when I you can't really see the problems in this media. But I needed my hair off my neck, and now it's off my neck. And so give yourself a bad haircut. Who the fuck cares? You can fix it later. I just have been lazy and I haven't done it. So there you go.
Oh my God. The other day I put my hair in a ponytail and I was literally like, what if I just cut it off?
Yeah.
And I'm trying to grow it out. I want to give it one more year. But then I think I'm just going to.
I know that. I mean.
So you're an inspiration
am I
to
though?
me.
Because I was also trying to grow my hair out. And then I was like,
no, quit. Ask my listeners. I love quitting. I love when women quit.
I mean, honestly,
things. We don't
that
quit
sounds
enough.
like a lady love too. I think you came with multiple today.
Quitting.
Yeah, incredible.
God, think about it. Make sure to do it in not a dickish way and then quit.
Consciously uncouple.
Yes. All it means is that you tried something and then you learned about yourself. That's all it means. Good.
True.
But yeah, see, my hair is so
pretty,
long
though.
and it's curly, so then it just bounces. Thank you. I just want to go
I mean, I hear you. Yeah, I know.
Thank you. I'll give myself a bad haircut and then come back.
Oh,
love to
boy.
have you.
I can't wait to be that inspiration in your life.
Okay.
Oh.
I'm just going to invite myself.
Oh my God,
back.
you're
Anytime,
once in a
anytime.
while.
Soulmate.
Anytime. Like, if you want to text me on a Wednesday and be like, how you doing on Sunday? I'm good. Where can they find you, Vanessa?
Hot and Bothered podcast. I'm on Twitter, Vanessa M. Zoltan. That's me.
You can find us on all the places, on Instagram at Heaving Bosoms, is Twitter's is the heaving_bosoms. There's a Facebook group. There's a website that will get you all those things. And it's honestly gorgeous. Natalie did an amazing job. If you're looking for a virtual assistant, I don't know if Natalie has time, but
you should
would be a
ask
great
her
idea.
if she does, for sure.
You should ask her, and listen to Bonkers Romance. That's all.
Right.
So keep being a badass and love yourself as much as you love.
There's a cord of communion between us beneath my left rib and yours. And when we hang up the Zoom call, it will break. And I will take to bleeding inwardly. But you will forget
I'm so
them.
in love with you right now. Thank you.
Never.
The best.
Oh my God. I've never met someone so good. Okay.
Hey, you. Yes, listener, you. Are you loving the show? If so, please leave a rating and review in your podcast app. The 90 seconds you take to say something nice not only helps new people find the show, but it makes me super smile over at HBHQ. Also, I've had a few people ask, and the answer is yes. We are still doing the 5-star bribe. If you leave us a review with 5 stars, then we'll do whatever book you want. We're real deep into the list, though, so it might be a while. Lilas! Okay, back to the show.